Okay. I will now call to order the September 5th, 2024 Board of Education meeting. We'll begin with our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the traditional, ancestral, unceded territory of the Chumash, Tongva, Fernandeño, Tatabaim, and First Nations on which we are learning, educating, and living. Mr. Everhart, would you lead us in the pledge this evening?
That'd be an honor.
Thank you, sir.
Please stand.
Please rise if you're able.
Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Quinterio, please take the roll call at this time.
Member Tabbitt,
Present.
Clerk Ponser Kamkar, Vice President Alkanian,
Present.
President Weisberg.
Present. Reporting on closed session, we have no items to report. Before we move on to adjustments to the agenda, I would like us to, hold on, I'm just trying to find the note I took. Give me 1 second, I'm so sorry. I would like to adjourn tonight's meeting in honor of the 4 people murdered at Appalachia School. Coach and teacher Richard Aspinwall, math teacher Christina Arame, 14-year-old Mason Schemmerhorn, and 14-year-old Christian Angulo. Are there other adjustments to the agenda?
Yes, I would like to ask if we can consider moving 13G up to 13A, just because our CBO is not well, and we just want to get the report done. Thank you.
Anyone have an issue with that? Great, works for me. We'll move to 7, items for future agenda. Does anybody have any agenda items? I have 2. The first one is I would like to agendize the PLA language for our bond for ideally for our September 19th meeting. I would also like, and I don't have as firm a timeline on this, but I would like us to have a conversation about updating our heat policy. I think it could use a little bit of tweaking for our students, our teachers, and our staff. Ms. Ponser-Kamkar.
I also have two. One is I had asked at some point in recent memory about our joint use funds with the city and kind of a report on how much is in that bucket and what is eligible for that to be spent on. And then the other one was, in light of recent events, if we could get Chief Albanese and BPD to talk about school safety. I know we did, or the district, it was before my time, did a town hall, or during the joint meeting a number of years ago, did that. So if there's any updates to school safety measures, that would be great to hear.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Ms. Ponser-Kamkar. You beat me to that one. Really glad that you brought it. Yeah, really glad. Anybody else have additional agenda items, future agenda items? Okay. We are going to move to 8, one of my favorite things that I get to do, that any of us get to do. So we are going to administer the oath of office for our fabulous student board members for the 2024-2025 academic year. So Ms. Quinteri, are we going to head down there? Okay. Welcome, everybody. So for those of you fabulous humans walking in, I hope you'll consider becoming student board members when you're in high school and are able to do so. 3 of you got an all-female squad this time. Very exciting. Okay, so we are going, so I'm going to introduce you individually, but we're going to take the oath together. Is that, yes? Sorry. Okay, so let's see. So from Monterey, Vivian Munoz. From John Burroughs, Lauren Nestor. But Lala. Yeah. Thank you. I told you, correct me. Okay. Thank you. So Lala. And Rose Ilangesian. Thank you. Keep correcting me. From Burbank High School. So we're so honored to have the 3 of you. And so repeat after me. Do they have to raise their... I think you raise your right hand. Okay. So when I say I and then state your name, just state your name. So I state your name.
Vivian. I, Lola Nestor.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will support and defend.
That I will support and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
Against all enemies.
Against all enemies.
Foreign and domestic.
Foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith.
That I will bear true faith.
And allegiance. To the Constitution of the United States.
To the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
And the Constitution of the United States of California.
Nailed it. That I take this obligation freely.
And I take this obligation freely.
Without any mental reservation.
Without any mental reservation.
Or purpose of evasion.
Or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully.
And that I will well and faithfully.
Discharge the duties.
Discharge the duties.
Upon which I am about to enter.
Upon which I am about to enter.
Fantastic. Welcome aboard. Congratulations. Yeah. We're going to take a picture, which will be awesome. And then we are going to have you, once we take the picture, we're going to have you sign these, and then we sign these, and then you're part of the team. It's so exciting. So the other board members are going to come down so we can... Yes. Any parentals? All right, come on over. I know. So grown up. You guys get in the middle. You're most important people in this picture. I'm going to stand on the other side of you because you are the special guests. You good? All right. Awesome. Good job. So welcome all three of you. I think everybody is going to want to say something. I'll just quickly say that we're so honored to have you as part of the board, and we really want you to feel like, yes, a big part of your role is going to be telling us all the amazing things that are happening at your schools, but we also really want you to feel like you can come here and ask questions, let us know what's going on at your schools. We've had a great history of former student board members like Ever Huerta from Burroughs who really used the opportunity to advocate for change on his campus. So I hope that you'll feel comfortable and confident with us that we're really here to listen to you, and that you'll, whether it's during a board meeting or another time, you'll reach out to any one of us because we're here to serve you predominantly. So thank you so much. I know there are lots of other things you could be doing on your Thursday nights, like homework or not homework, but I'm just really happy and excited to get to know all three of you and to learn from you over this year. Ms. Tabbitt, anything?
Well, I think your words were very spot on. You are filling some big shoes here from previous student board members. The board, myself included, is always excited to have our new student board members here. And we try to make it not too hard, but there's a little bit of fun, and you will definitely learn a lot. So, and we are always very, very excited to know and understand what's going on at your schools. So thank you for being here. We appreciate your time.
Yes, please.
Welcome. As former board member Mr. Ferguson would say, he was once a student board member and then was up on this dais. My husband was a student board member back in San Francisco and, is doing okay for himself, I think. So I think this will be a really good experience for you guys. You get to really see how the sausage is made in a lot of ways. And we love hearing about everything that's happening at school. My favorite things to learn about are theme weeks, so please bring those. And just anything that you guys really care about. So it's always it's usually a really fun thing to hear from students, but we definitely want to hear when you guys have concerns. And we know that people are going to bring them to you, so bring them to us, okay?
Dr. Agokanian.
So I want to congratulate all of you. You are going to be the voice of our students. And Madam Chair, if it's okay, I know we haven't done this traditionally, but if you're comfortable, I'd like to see if we can get them business cards. So they can, when they talk to people.
Hand them out to
also-
all your friends.
Exactly. If you're comfortable with it, Cindy can get you business cards. But congratulations. I know, as my colleague said, you could be home doing homework right now. Or not. But I think the change we've seen over the years that our student representatives become part of the dais. You become the voice also of the board. So appreciate what you're doing, and I look forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Welcome, everybody. This is one of our favorite board meetings because it is a room packed with students and parents, and we so rarely get that. So I am really excited. And we're going to move on to presentations and recognitions. Recognition of students with perfect California assessment of student performance and progress scores. And I'll introduce Dr. Anders, who is going to recognize our phenomenal students here in attendance tonight. Ooh.
Good evening. We have, come on in and grab a seat. Yes, it's a fun night. Last year, I should say, we honored our scores, and we kind of didn't know what we were in for when we realized how many students had a perfect score on our CASP. And we hit the same mark this year. So we had approximately 100 students in the district, grades 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 11. And tonight what we wanted to do was identify our secondary students that had a perfect score on the CASP assessment. We did have some students that pointed out that they wanted to be at their back to school night, so we're going to accommodate them to be able to do some of our high school students at the October board meeting. But we have some tonight, and we have our middle school well represented tonight as well. So when it comes to secondary, we had 4 students in 6th grade with a perfect score. I should say 4 perfect scores in 6th grade. In 7th grade, we had 17 perfect scores. So our 7th grade is a strong group. In 8th grade, we had 8 perfect scores. And in 11th grade, we had 9 perfect scores. Tonight, we have, I believe, just one student who had both a perfect score in the math and English, both assessments. So that's quite a feat. So we're going to bring up our lone 6th grader tonight to recognize them. I'm going to ask the board to come down so that everybody can take a picture, and I'll read names, and then we'll go through the different grade levels as we go. And would you mind, Sarah? Oh, we have a few late comers.
Just went C.
Is there a handheld mic?
There was, yeah. Come on in.
So I'd like to bring up.
Okay. It's okay.
I'd like to bring up Nicholas Laneson, our 6th grade student, to be recognized for his perfect score. Go ahead and stand with the school board. Get
We
up
have to
here.
do like weird pictures now.
That is a Star Wars.
One of only 4. Thank you, Nicholas. Yeah, one of only 4 in our district.
That is amazing.
Favorite Star Wars character?
Wait, that's a good question.
I'm going to bring up, thank you, Nicholas.
Thank you, Nicholas.
I'm going to bring up last year's 7th graders. So I made this mistake last year of calling them by the wrong grade level because they're matriculated a whole grade higher. So last year's 7th grade, our current 8th graders, come on up and I'll recognize you for your perfect scores.
Wow. This is such a great group. Stand in front of us, you're the stars. Yes, with it. Yes, with it.
Yeah, just if they're coming in late. If they're coming in late. There's some of them said they were going to be here, but aren't.
Standing here somewhere.
So let me read these names real quick. We have Alina Olshansky, Kai Maxino, Cooper Brody, Erlene Tomasian, Judah Connor, and our Kaylee Knight twice over, English and math. Kamala Sheth, Senya Balahava, Mary Sepanian, Matthew Yangcheski, Miles Maglio, Neo Didasi, and Petrushinka Anand, Sebastian Hernandez, Shane O'Connor, and our last one is Sophia Tomasin. Congratulations. Okay, thank you. You guys might go back to your families and. So this way we may lose some students because they're at back to school night, but I want to bring up our current 9th graders who were 8th grade last year who had a perfect score on the CASP assessment. Come on up if you're representing 8th grade from last year.
Good job.
Representing tonight. So this is Elisa Ruiz. We had 8 others. I think we may be able to recognize them another time. And Elisa, if you want to come back, you're welcome to come back with your colleagues in the 9th grade. I want to make sure I'm not missing anybody, but the other one that I think was supposed to be here was Rahil Shah, but I don't think they see them tonight. So congratulations. Thank you. And if we have any current seniors who were 11th graders last year, there were 9 perfect scores in the 11th grade.
Come on. Congratulations. Well done.
Congratulations.
Just the 2 of you are shining
It
stars.
should be Avitas.
Nice job.
So Avitas Masakian and Joseph Tanner, congratulations.
Nice job.
This is the best of the best in Burbank. Want to show our appreciation to the parents. You guys have done a lot to prepare your students for an honor like this. It's really exciting to know that we can support students to these high, lofty goals that they have. Make sure you take them out to whatever dinner they want tonight. You heard it here first.
wait.
Oh, we have one more?
A surprise guest.
Come on.
And then we have Kamala Sheth, who is a 7th grade. All right, congratulations, y'all. We really are proud.
Her name is Kamala? Yeah. Nice name.
Okay, thank you. Can we get a picture? Can we do another picture? Yeah, come on up. We'll get a picture. Sorry we missed that.
We're so sorry.
Thank you, guys.
So before we move on, and I think the board probably has some yays to make, but before I forget, because my brain is a sieve, I wanted to acknowledge Alyssa, who is ASB Vice President at Burroughs, and Vincent, who is the alternate at Monterey, who are so dedicated. They're here to just show up and listen and learn, and I'm sure we'll be seeing them at some point throughout the year, so welcome to both of you. Ms. Tappett, anything you want to say about our fabulous test takers, scorers?
You know, that's one of the best things about getting to be a board member is getting to honor those that work so hard. I mean, they probably don't think twice about it, but it means some of them may do. That's not a fair statement. It's just such a joy to see these kids who've worked so hard and somebody give them a pat on the back and say thank you for making us look good. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I was reflecting on this a little bit, and like no single test is the measure of any child's academic outcomes, and the fact that these students were able to essentially get perfect scores just shows what is possible within Burbank Unified, right? It shows that we are achieving that kind of excellence in our classrooms, and it just makes me really excited and really proud. And just like big, huge thank yous to those parents, because I'm sure they have done lots and lots of work with those kiddos. And as someone who struggles to get 2 kids' homework done with them, I'm not doing it. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. So thank you to those parents, and congratulations to the kids.
Dr. Harkanian.
Well, I think it's important to not only acknowledge our students, but also the parents. But it's also good to see students who are thriving to get perfect scores. I think, sometimes we forget that, for some of our students, being at that level, it's important, but it's also a lot of hard work. But also, I think they also can be a source of inspiration, some of the students also who want to be at that level. And I think it's important to remember that, working together as students, I remember myself, working with students who were better than me. I would ask them questions, and they helped me become a better student. But I want to congratulate all of them. They do deserve, dinner. Someone said dinner? I don't know. Maybe, I don't know, for being a perfect score or something.
That's so nice of you to offer to pay for dinner for
Sure,
them.
I'll pay for dinner. But again, congratulations, and congratulations also to the parents. and the families.
Dr. Paramo.
I just wanted to close the loop on the perfect triangle of support for our kids. The board members, you've mentioned the students, and we've mentioned the parents. And the next part of that is our teachers who do an amazing job. They are warm demanders. They expect a lot. They also inspire, and I think that's what gets our kids to really be motivated to do well. And so I appreciate them and say thank you.
Yeah, you beat me to the teacher thing. So I'll pretend like you didn't say it. This is an amazing accomplishment, and something that Dr. Anders brought up. This was many meetings ago, but it always sticks with me, is that we don't often think, everybody gets really caught up in like metrics and scores and the percentages and all of that stuff. And that's really important, right? It's a good marker. It's good to look at, but it's not the sum total of our students. And so there's so many things that go into earning such a high score. How you're feeling that day. Did you eat? Did you sleep the night before? Are you stressed out? Do you have a test in another class? And so when you think about all of those elements, it's so extraordinary that our students are able to achieve at such a high level. And for students who are like myself, who didn't particularly test well, I think that Ms. Ponser-Kamkar's point is really a valid one, that we can celebrate the huge success of our students tonight, but also acknowledge that there are so many bright, focused, successful students who are thriving in many, many different ways and might not be up here getting a perfect CASP score, but are excelling. And so I think it's important to acknowledge both things and to thank our teachers for the myriad hours of time they put in, well above and beyond what they're contracted to do, and to the parents who stay up and study and help and support and all. There's so much that goes into this, and I think that's why, when we talk about like metrics in this environment, they're not numbers, they're people. And it takes a whole community to be able to help every one of them thrive. So congratulations to everybody here, and those who are not here. And hopefully we can figure out how to not have high school back to school night during a board meeting, so we can go and celebrate with everybody. Dr. Agakanian has a quick question.
Dr. Paramo, just for some of the viewers, define perfect score in math and.
You didn't miss a question.
No. Like when we're talking about getting these perfect scores,
Yes, sir.
Study-wise, how much work, just on average, so people kind of get a better understanding.
Sure. I'm going to ask Dr. Anders to respond.
Thank you. I'm just trying to get.
The CASP test itself is a scale scored assessment, so it does move by grade level the range of scores that students can obtain. And so these are students that got the highest obtainable score on the assessment for their grade level. So, and I couldn't tell you, to be honest, if they answered every single question correctly, but they definitely scored the highest obtainable score.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah. And then I also wanted to mention too, we're going to be creating certificates for our sites to give out to students,
Oh,
for
that's
students who grew an entire band. So we're honoring the students with perfect scores tonight, but the sites are going to be getting certificates to hand out to students who grew more than one performance band.
I love that. That's fantastic. Thank you. I don't know. You can ask.
How many are we talking? Number-wise, what?
Number-wise, the cutoff is 2,600.
I think he was asking, like, how many students do we think at the sites have achieved the really amazing goal that you just brought up?
Yeah, I wanted to bring the students who did that to the board, but it's like 350 across the district. Yeah. But that's, 100 perfect scores and over 350 students who grew over a band.
What's the fire code? Thank you very much. 9B, I am always #very excited when this is on the agenda. Burbank Adult School Programs offered for 2024-2025. I'm going to introduce Dr. Macias, who will introduce the phenomenal Juan Noguera, who will talk about all the programs being offered at Burbank High School.
And good evening, Dr. Weisberg, board members, Superintendent Dr. Paramo, district staff, and the Burbank Unified Community. I am a little upset you took my line, and all in good fun. I do want to introduce our fabulous director, who, if you will get to know him, you're around him, you get full of energy. He has charisma like no other. So to share about all the good things Burbank Adult School, I want to introduce our fantastic Mr. Juan Noguera.
Good evening.
We can get the
President.
PowerPoint.
Once it's ready, you'll see it up there. Okay.
Okay, it's there. President of the Board, Dr. Emily Wisberg, distinguished board members, Superintendent Dr. Paramo, Assistant Superintendents, and Cindy Quintero. Your support is greatly appreciated. The people behind the scene, you know. Usually we don't think about how beautiful the day is outside, but we should enjoy the beautiful day that we have outside. Because if you think about what happened last night, those 4 human beings who passed away, they are not enjoying whatever day they might have around. So we complain about the day, it's hot, but no, it's a beautiful day out there. And I'm enjoying that weather out there. Thank you for listening to seeing this short presentation. Greetings from Burbank Adult School, the staff, faculty, and students. Thank you. It's taking a little while. It's taking a little while. It's not going. There you go. It's going. So, what a beautiful day. Hashtag Thursday, September 5th. There you got it. There you go. So, the first piece that you're going to see here is our enrollment. I want to show you just a glimpse of what fall, the first month of August 2023-2024 was last year. We had an enrollment of 1,719 students. This year, 1 month, we have 2,165 students. It's great. If we compare coming out of the pandemic, 2021-2022, the total enrollment for that year was 2,702. 2022-2023, the total enrollment for Burbank Adult School was 3,999. Last year, we had, the year previous to that, we had about the year 2020, the previous year we have 4,880. And last year we reached about 6,000 students, including summer. So we're helping the community. That shows what we are doing. And what you can see there is basically comparing the first month in the fall, 2023-2024 versus 2024-2025. Our enrollment is up about 500 students. Pretty good. Let's take a look at the budget, 2024-2025. Cape money, we're receiving this year $4,520,610. The carryover is about $1,968,453. That gives us a total of $6,489,63. It's pretty good. The Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, this year we're getting $542,243. The English Learners Health Pathway Grant, we just got the money. We didn't spend anything last year. We're just getting $220,000 to spend it this year. So that's money that we are going to be using to help any student who want to get into the medical careers. Now, let's look at the enrollment by departments. So what we have done is, in ESL, we have grown to 37 classes. 37 classes in ESL. That includes Burbank High. The Saturday program has 4 classes of ESL. The academic department, that's one of the areas that we have grown because we had added the online GED. And we added more classes on Saturdays. The CTE program, now we are adding one class that is exciting, is career exploration class. We're bringing VRs, the goggles, so students can explore the different careers. Also, we're bringing the CMA in the spring and the LVN in the spring. One thing that we did different for the pharmacy tech is that we are offering pharmacy tech in the morning and at night now. So we have more students attending the school. And of course, the parent education, we have the Family Success Initiative that we want to offer more in our elementary school and middle schools. Moving forward, what we're planning to do is to increase English learners entering these careers in the medical field. We want to bring the LVN program in the spring. We continue expanding the ESL program. We're going to offer more technology in the classrooms. We are, in fact, bringing more software, learning software to enhance learning in the classroom. This is possible because all the support that you have provided. This is possible because we have an assistant principal who is very dedicated to the CTE program. That's Mr. Elvis Carillas. And that is possible also because we have new positions. We have one dedicated person now to manage the pharmacy tech classes / internships. What we're doing now, we are helping students in the medical field entering careers by finding places in the community so they can do the hands-on practice and they can find jobs. That's what we're doing now. So we hire a CTE internships resource teacher, and we hire a WIOA CASAS resource teacher. So we have more support at school. And of course, we hire a principal because it was difficult for me to manage everything. So we hire a principal, and you're going to meet him tonight. His name is Todd LaVenture. He's a nice guy, too. But one area that we would like to focus on is persistent. The state of California defines persistent on any student or participant who stays in the classroom for 12 hours or more. That's a participant. And if we accomplish or increase the number of students staying for 12 hours or more, we will receive more money. So the CAPE money would increase. So that's a key element that we want to bring into the program. To do that, we're planning to bring more PDs, more professional learning communities to enhance instruction in the classroom. We are, tonight, I saw the agenda, there are 2 items in there. We are bringing more resources to the teachers because we believe that we have to compete with everybody in the community. Community colleges, we love them. We are collaborating with LAVC. We are planning to, with Dr. Macias, we are planning to establish a class in collaboration with LAVC, and that's in the planning. However, our school is very unique, and we serve the community, and they like to be in our school because Burbank Adult School is the happiest school in Burbank. Without a doubt. You pass by right now, there is not a space to park around the streets. It's packed. And last night, I came to Burbank High. The classes at Burbank High are packed as well. So we're planning to open one more ESL class at Burbank High and one more at the adult school starting on Monday. So we're growing, we continue growing. However, one of the areas that we need to also expand and do a better work is recruiting teachers. The ESL we're doing fine right now. Is the academic where we are lacking, not lacking, but I think we can do a better job recruiting people. And of course, the CMA, let me tell you this, the CMA class, the clinical medical assistant class, we had 23 students ready to start a class and we couldn't find a nurse to teach the class. That's one area that we need to do better. We need to look for ways to do a better recruitment. And another area that we need to do, and I'm talking to HR, our amazing Sarah Rochenko, we want to expand or bring more people in the office, in the main office to help. Because we have tripled the number of students coming to school in a year. We have added more teachers, but not enough hands helping in the main office. We need to hire at least 2 more clerks in there and do something for those people who are doing the job, an amazing job, with the same pay. I know it's a difficult issue because we had to go through the union and all that. However, their job description is completely different to what other K-12 people are doing in a main office.
Could you talk a little bit about is the challenge with recruiting teachers just, and we know that there's huge attrition in the field in general, is that there are not enough people? What do you think are the roadblocks to that?
I believe the roadblock is that we advertise our job posting only on one platform. I think we should go outside that platform because let's say a nurse is not going to look into a joint to get a part-time job because they need to go through LACO to get their credential first to be able to be in the classroom. So, and those are the roadblocks that I would say we're facing. Maybe we can advertise on other platforms. That would be great. At this point, I would like to introduce and then I take questions if you have more questions, our new principal, Mr. Todd LaVenture, a nice guy. He smiles, he's bold like me too. So he does great things for the adult school as well.
Of course, Juan is a tough act to follow, and I like to think that it was because of what I brought in terms of experience that got me the position, but I do kind of think it just might be the haircut. Board members, district administration, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. It's a pleasure to be here. My experience is I moved out here from Michigan a year ago. After 27 years in education there, a little bit of time in South Carolina and New York City mixed in there, but the bulk of the time in Michigan, and moved out here to be closer to my kids. And, spent the bulk of my experience as a middle and high school teacher, then middle and high school administrator. And as my career evolved toward the end, working as a principal and director at a career and technical education center. And that's where really began to develop a passion and a focus in that area where we worked with primarily high school students there, where we're working with adults now. But we also had evening programs for the GED. We had daytime programs for students who were on the verge of dropping out in order to capture them and get them headed on a GED track. So it was, when I left there, I left a really, really great place. And it was a difficult decision to leave. And when I came here, there was a great deal of uncertainty, not knowing anybody out here or where I could possibly land. And had the great fortune of landing at the Burbank Adult School last year, served as the academic department chairperson there, And, when you folks, and I know you do, you hear from him personally, but you hear from others as well, just when he talks about it's the happiest school in the district, it's a large part of the culture that he's developed, and that everybody there has bought into. And, people coming in as adult learners, obviously didn't go well the first time around for a lot of them. And they're coming in, they're very nervous, they're not sure what to expect, and when they come in, they're always greeted with a smile, with open arms, and how can we help you? And just this year, we're doing our registration, watching families come in and seeing them with their kids in tow, and just looking at them in search of opportunity. Educationally, that's going to lead to employment opportunities that are going to impact not only them, but the little ones that they had along with them, and that's where it's at. And so just very happy to be here and happy to be a part of the mission here and the growth that we're experiencing, and just once again, thank you.
So any question?
Yes, so as we are in a middle of talks right now with the city in terms of opening a center for business and entrepreneurship, partnership between the city, I think it is key that we work closely with you, especially in certain areas that I personally have seen an uptick, especially in areas like construction, certification, solar panel certification. Glendale College can't keep enough of those classes. I mean, they get booked really fast. And I think this whole shift now from traditional academia to more hands-on career tech education. And people can blame AI for it, but I think there is also a big gap right now. Started with nursing, you're seeing that, now you're seeing in other areas. So I had asked Dr. Paramo last time, but I don't know where we are. Yes, you're working on it. So I think what you're doing is wonderful. I think at one point also, I don't know how your space is looking right now, but as we're moving down the road, I know that people have talked about, the parking concerns. Now, my question is the 12 hours now. Is it 12 hours is it week, month, how many, a day?
Yeah, thank you. What we do is the nature of our school is very different to any other setting because we serve students in the morning, and then we have a slow down in the afternoon, but then it picks up again around 5 p.m. So it goes something like 9:15, 9:30. And then Fridays is downtime, but then Saturday, again, it comes back. So it's the unique of the scheduling where people can attend the adult school. That's the nature that we are facing there. That impacts how we can advertise jobs and people getting those jobs because some people don't like to have splits. So that's a difficult part also of how we deal with employing people at the adult school as well.
But you talked about 12 hours. What are you referring to?
Oh, no, you're talking about then the persistence.
Yes.
Yeah. What the states identify persistent is somebody, participant. A student becomes a participant when it stays in the classroom for 12 hours, attending 12 hours in the classroom. Once a student is dropped before meeting those hours because, one, the student stopped coming after the second day because he or she found a job, or because he or she had to move, all the barriers that adult learners have, that's another barrier that we have in adult education, or childcare for that matter.
Yeah.
So let's say somebody comes to school, enrolls in a class, but then the following week he finds a job or she finds a job, and the job at work they tell the person, we cannot give you time to go to school. So once the person drop out of school, that goes against our data because the person didn't stay in the classroom for 12 hours or more. That is key for us, but in some cases it's because the student didn't find what they wanted in the classroom. So that's why we want to elevate and keep up with instruction, with all the technology that is out there to keep the students engaged.
So what about virtual classes? They're still very popular in college.
We're doing that now. We have GED online now. We have medical terminology online. We have QuickBooks online. We are getting into that.
And that counts for 12 hours.
That's correct. Everything will be part of that. So that's one way that we see how we can support those people who have barriers, transportation, childcare, so they can take their classes from home.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do my colleagues have any questions?
Just thank you for coming and for, it's really exciting. I feel like every time I talk to Dr. Pramo about adult school, he's saying how much it's growing and how fast it's growing and what an amazing job that you're doing. And welcome, Mr. Remind me of your last name.
LaVenture.
LaVenture. I'm like, there was venture in there. I know it. Welcome to Burbank. I'm excited to stop by sometime soon.
You should.
Yeah.
You're going to love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
One of the things that we've been starting to explore and should have done a long time ago as a district is the sort of creating stronger pipelines between our students and the apprenticeship programs in our local unions. And I think this could be a wonderful conversation to have, or I know, not even I think, to continue to have with both of you about how we can really build substantial, because it really speaks to CTE, it speaks to any number of things, but because of how much the adult school is thriving, I feel like it wouldn't have been the right time before, but now is the right time. And just sort of figuring out what partnerships are possible there and what we can learn from them and what they can learn from you. And I think it's a really exciting time for us. And I also cannot wait. I'm just going to ask you to tag along one night and just bop about and see all the different classes because I haven't had, and that's good. It's not during my teaching day, so I can do it, which is awesome. So I just really appreciate the innovation that both of you bring, the outside the box thinking, and also the responsiveness that you are really super nimble with how you're identifying the need and then responding to the need with either more classes or online classes or different types of programming. And I think that's really unique and really important because there's no way we'd have this kind of growth if you weren't as responsive as you are.
Thank you.
Yeah. Dr. Pramo, anybody else have anything they want to add, subtract?
I would just like to add that since I've been working with adult education, it bothers me, and I said it before, and I will say it again because some people are watching this, that adult education is not the night school anymore. Adult education is the place where people go and they get trained for better jobs. They reinvent themselves, they learn new skills, or they learn a new language to be more successful, helping, as Todd said, their children to be more successful at school as well. And that's the key. We are not helping people only to get better job and retain those jobs, but becoming better parents, because that's the goal of adult education, helping parents to become better parents so we can have the success that we saw tonight with more kids getting perfect scores. That's the goal of this thing. So that's why I believe in adult education. That's why I bring what I bring to adult education, because we are making changes in the community and we are transforming the life of people. That's key for us. And buying into that is critical for our school and all the staff and faculty. That's why, as a family, we might disagree sometimes, but we come together when we need to add more classes online, and soon you're going to see some ESL online because I'm working on that, because we have parents at home that cannot attend the school because transportation or childcare.
Yeah, thank you for the reminder on ESL. That was the question I had. I know we've seen in our schools a lot of newcomers to the United States from Ukraine, from Russia, from Armenia. Is that what you're also seeing in your ESL courses as well? Are adults from those kind of countries?
That is correct.
Okay.
And some of those parents, when I go to any other school in the community, I see some of the students also bringing their kids to those elementary school, middle school, or high school. And in fact, our ESL department chairperson is going to Burbank High to the night where they're going to be meeting all those newcomers, parents, so we can advertise the ESL classes so they can attend the night classes at Burbank High. So we are collaborating. And the last piece I would like to add is that Dr. Oscar Macias is working with Todd. He's going to start attending the principals meeting because we want Todd to be a voice in that group so we can start working with principals at the schools so we can bring more parents who need that language support to support those kids at school. So Todd is going to be a very key person in there.
Mr. Noguera, I think one thing that you just hit on the nail is also for the parents. So as a former ESL student, I wish my parents knew about the adult school programs. They didn't. And it was difficult because, the language barrier, So I'm glad you're doing this. I think the impact is very, very important, especially for families who come here, because people also forget a lot of these families are very highly educated.
Yes.
But they just don't speak the language, and that's a difficulty for them. So I think the fact that you mentioned this tonight and you put it out there for parents to know it's important, because when I was an ESL student, no one talked about this. No one talked about adult schools. And my parents, unfortunately, never went to the program.
Yeah.
So thank you for mentioning that, and thank you for doing everything you do. It's very important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night and enjoy the night. It's warm, but it's beautiful.
We'll do it.
Hashtag beautiful night.
So good. We are going to move on to reports from board and staff, and we are going to begin with our fabulous student representatives. We are going to begin with Lala from Burroughs High School.
Okay, hello and good evening, distinguished board members, Superintendent Promo, district staff, and members of the Burbank community. My name is Lala Nestor, a senior at John Burroughs High School and the ASB president. I'm honored and very excited to be the student representative for Burroughs High School this year, and I will be providing you with a report on all previous, current, and future JBHS activities. This year has started with some exciting changes at JBHS. We welcome Mr. Brian Henriquez, our new Assistant Principal of Student Services. He offers a fresh perspective, and we can't wait to see the positive impact he will have on our student body. Our schedule has also been updated to include Academic Excellence, or AE, before nutrition on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, rather than fourth period like last year. This change was based on a student survey where the majority favored the new time. Teachers also believe that students are more focused and productive in the morning, enhancing their ability to complete assignments effectively. Both students and teachers have positively received this adjustment. Our first hiccup of the year was definitely the experience of budget cuts. Class sizes are larger than usual, but with administration's hard work, we've managed to reduce them slightly and foster a greater sense of normalcy. Although students wish they could have been placed in their top class choices, I'm confident that they have almost fully adjusted to the changes. Now, onto school events. Our first home football game occurred last Friday, and although we didn't secure a win, it was great to see everyone showing school spirit by dressing in black, which was the theme for the night chosen by ASB's athletic commissioners. We are hopeful for a better outcome this Friday as we take on Harvard Westlake. On August 30th and 31st, ASB hosted the annual Club Rush event where students could interact with all 70 of our intriguing club presidents. This event created just a really good environment for students and helped them engage with the diverse range of clubs available. Next week, ASB is partnering with Student Mental Health Board to present our annual Suicide Prevention Week. This week will feature spirit days and lunchtime activities designed to raise awareness and support mental health. The theme for our upcoming football game will also be blue and purple to promote this cause further. On September 13th, our senior class will host Senior Sunrise, marking our first major senior event of the year. This event aims to bring the senior class together for a memorable morning and further unite the class of 2025. The following week, we will celebrate our annual Kindness Week, which will involve a full week of spirit days such as Don't Hide Your Kindness, Wear Camo, kindness and your future, wear college gear, and more. We also have lunchtime activities planned to help spread kindness throughout the campus and foster a positive school environment. On September 17th, we hold our first blood drive of the year. ASB is collaborating with UCLA to create a comfortable and welcoming environment for blood donors. Our goal is to encourage as many students as possible to participate and make a difference in our community. Additionally, the College and Career Fair will be held on September 21st from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., and it will offer students with valuable opportunities to interact with colleges and college representatives and explore future career paths. Overall, this year is off to a great start with strong participation and pride from both students and staff, and we do not have any concerns to share at the moment. We're excited to see what the rest of the year holds, and we are committed to making it a memorable and impactful year for everyone. Are there any questions or clarifications?
You did a great job.
Okay, thank you.
You did. You really did a great job.
Thank you.
I think we will all attest to the fact that when we have to speak, like if we go to city council, it's terrifying. Yeah. It's really hard to do, and you did a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
You really did. Any questions?
This message is only for you.
Okay.
Because there is something coming up called the Clerk's Cup, and the city clerk and I will be in competition to see which school gets the most voters registered.
Okay.
And so I have Burroughs.
Okay.
And Kimberly Clark has Burbank High.
Okay.
So you and I will email because we are going to get this done. We are going to make sure Burroughs wins.
Okay.
And either way, we're just going to get a ton of kids registered to vote, which is really exciting. So,
Okay.
But thank you for your report. Great job. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Sponsor Camcar, how do we get Monterey included?
I know. I was thinking about that too.
We should definitely talk to Ms. Clark about making sure. You should just.
I'm adopting Monterey.
Great. Good. Done. Now we're totally going to win.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you so much. We're going to move on to our next student representative, Rose Ilangesian. Okay, I was better. Ilangesian from Burbank High.
Good evening, Superintendent Paramo, esteemed board members President Weisberg, Vice President Agakanyan, Board Clerk Kamkar, and Board Member Tabet. I extend warm regards to each of you this evening. My name is Rosie Langesian, and I currently serve as the ASB President at Burbank High School. It is with great pleasure that I address you to provide an update on the various activities taking place at Burbank High. Burbank High School is currently abuzz with a multitude of activities. Notable recent events include a successful Spirit Week and our Senior Sunrise Gathering. We have been delighted to witness an exceptional display of school spirit, with extensive involvement from both students and staff during the Spirit Week early in the school year. Imbuing our efforts with enthusiasm, ASB organized engaging lunchtime activities, including water balloon tosses and dance-offs, to foster enhanced student engagement. We eagerly anticipate our upcoming Spirit Week, slated to take place from September 23rd through the 27th, with specific themes to be determined. The recent Senior Sunrise was a resounding success, with over 200 seniors congregating at 6 a.m. to witness the sunrise, symbolic of the commencement of our final year as high school students. Furthermore, our Club Rush, initially scheduled for tomorrow, has been rescheduled to Wednesday, September 11, due to lingering concerns around heat. We are dedicated to supporting over 90 clubs at Burbank High School, covering a diverse range of interests and causes. ASB has been diligently preparing for the Club Rush with all the necessary posters and table setups meticulously arranged in the quad to ensure a gratifying and successful experience for all students. Looking ahead, our ASB is actively involved in preparations for the upcoming football game on Thursday, September 12th. The chosen theme, Wild West, will be reflected in all promotional materials and student attire, bringing an extra layer of excitement to the event. Additionally, the eagerly anticipated annual foam party themed Teen Beach Movie is set to take place on Friday, September 13th at 7 p.m. In line with our commitment to support our fellow Bulldogs, especially our athletic teams, our ASB has planned to attend around 2 to 3 games together for each sport this season to cheer on our peers. We are also thrilled to announce the return of our UCLA Blood Drive. Commencing on September 18th, this annual event, conducted in collaboration with UCLA, aims to contribute to the noble cause of donating blood to children battling leukemia. As a token of appreciation for their participation, students will receive a complimentary In-N-Out gift card. This year, our ASB has launched class meetings led by class presidents to ensure that students are well informed about class-specific events and pertinent information. Upcoming meetings include the senior class meeting to discuss senior hoodies, senior panoramic photos, and a dinner night fundraiser with Dave's Hot Chicken. Additionally, the junior class has planned a fundraiser event featuring the sale of boba on September 11th, coupled with an informative class meeting. The sophomore class meeting scheduled for September 5th will focus on fundraising activities, while the freshman class aims to discuss their fundraising plans, including the sale of donuts in the mornings during their upcoming meeting on September 4th. I thank you for your time and attention to these updates and look forward to your continued support.
Thank you so much. Beautifully delivered. Well done, well done.
I have a question for Ms.
Doc-
A lot of people always ask me, like, when you give us. So when we get free, when we get the merch from Burbank, or people always ask me, where can I get that stuff, the T-shirts, and is that something just for the clubs, or can people go online and buy them? Like, you remember the Burrows shirt you got, the red one with the.
Oh, okay. I think you have a student store
Yeah.
that people can purchase from them. I
But
can't
is it
think they're
online? You have to go into the store and
I
buy.
think you have to go into the store, but we have it online. I'm not sure if you guys are able to buy it. I can talk to the principal if you'd
Yeah,
like.
because when I wear it, people are like, "Oh, I want one. Where do I get one?" I'm like, "I don't know." So.
I'll
So-
talk to my principal and let you know in the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great job.
Not only a student board member, our fashion consultant. Last but certainly not least, Vivian Munoz from Monterey.
Okay. Good evening, Board President Weisberg, distinguished members of the board, Superintendent Paramo, district staff, and our audience. I am Vivian Munoz. I am honored to be your Monterey Board representative this year. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you about our school. I am on track to graduate in December, so Vincent Savalsa is with me. He will be our alternate board representative and take over for me when I am not here. Monterey started off the year in a great place. The teachers and students are really happy with all of our new changes. We love our new assistant principal, Tracy Shaw. We also welcomed Mr. Rapp. He teaches PE and helps manage the SOAR program. We are all thrilled to see Mr. Avila and Mr. Uribe before school and at lunch. They have meetings all over the district, but it is so nice to see someone we know from our another school. They are always willing to help us with anything we need. Student Council is underway. We have planned out Spirit Days and some of our first tournaments of the year. Last Friday, our Spirit Day was Wear Your Favorite Band T-shirt Day. One of our school goals is building a positive community. This is not limited to our school. This semester, we are going to focus on our civic responsibility and teach the students the importance of being an informed voter. We have a lot of students who are 18, and this will be their first election, and we want everyone to have a voice. During our advisory period, students log into a school-wide Google Classroom, where we hear announcements from school staff and students. Our principal, Ms. Weaver, has been focusing announcements around school behavior expectations and ways for students to earn Panther praises for rewards. Thank you so much for listening. Do you have any questions for me?
That's really exciting, and it's so great to see you guys taking the lead on civic participation. It's a huge election. They're all really, really important, and it's great that you're educating one another. You're not waiting for somebody to come around and do it for you. So I'm excited to hear about how that goes.
Yeah. Yes, similarly, and happy to help if there's anything I can do. As I mentioned, you can pre-register as soon as you turn 16, which is basically everyone at Monterey is 16 or older. But thank you for coming, and thank you for letting us know that you're on track to graduate in December. That's super exciting, and congratulations, and hopefully we'll get to be there and cheer you on in December, okay?
Thank you so much.
Okay, well done. We're going to move on to 10B, representatives from our fabulous union partners, Burbank Teachers Association, BTA, California School Employees Association, CSEA, and BASA, Burbank Association of School Administrators. Mr. Becky, from our fabulous Burbank Teachers Association president.
Thank you so much. I just want to congratulate our student representatives. There's no better honor than fighting for your student body at your schools. This is an excellent leadership role for you, and I hope you enjoy it and are able to bring concerns to the Board of Ed and to the BUSD cabinet of how things are going at your schools, especially because they're not always at your school Monday through Friday. So thank you so much for being the person to represent your school. Congratulations. Dear President Weisberg, members of the board, Superintendent Paramo, members of the district and staff, my name is Nicole Jerbecki. I am the BTA president. I am a PE teacher at Dolores Huerta. I would like to say that our back to school night for middle school was a huge success. I thought the parent turnout was great. I know that our high school members have their back to school night tonight, and I wish them all very well. I would like to thank Dr. Macias for meeting with Brenda Cosbob, who's from our negotiations team, and myself to talk about class sizes at Burbank High in our secondary schools. Moving forward, we are just looking for equal balancing of our classes in our schools. I am hopeful that Oscar says he will be working with our administration to guide our principals and assistant principals in how to correctly do a master schedule so that the beginning of the year can be a lot smoother for our members for the next year. On September 11th, I will be doing a site visit to Washington Elementary School, and then September 18th, I will be visiting Roosevelt to meet with our members and principals to see how everything is going. As always, I would like to encourage our BUSD cabinet staff to visit our schools, check in with our members, see how the school year is going. Although it's been very hot for our students and our members, I want you to know that our members are always working very hard to give our students the best education possible. That's exactly why we do what we do. And I just want to thank everyone for being here tonight, and enjoy your evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dr. Macias and I were at Huerta last night, and it was definitely a ton more parents than I think last year. It was really great. It was great to see so many, even though it was super duper hot, it was really fantastic to see and stop in and see packed classrooms and everybody in there really wanting to meet teachers. So it was great. Any questions, comments for? Thank you. Reports from the superintendent, 10C.
Thank you so much. I just want to address a couple comments that Mr. Becky just pointed out. I want to acknowledge that this year was a little unprecedented in the sense that we were trying to work through creating a new formula for our enrollment and staffing. And I feel like we have learned from this year and know exactly where to make the adjustments. For the majority of our schools, I think we hit the mark pretty right on. Much more complicated at Burbank High for a lot of reasons. But I think what we can do is work with their staff to put the schedule together in a way that I think will be more effective. And I will also like to acknowledge that it was tough, the transition, because you have a brand new assistant principal of instruction that's in charge of the master schedule, but she's never done it. And you also have a brand new principal. So that presented some challenges that I think that we can totally overcome and make that smoother. So I want to acknowledge that. I will share with you that I, over the last few weeks, have made several visits to our campuses. I absolutely love it. As we move forward, it's every Monday and every Friday, the first 2 hours of the morning, that I'm doing site visits. So I put a schedule together, I send that to the principals, they sign up, they know I'm coming. I try to make this as very natural for them as possible. If they want to sit in their office and discuss things that are coming up, I'll do that. If they want to give me a tour, I'll do that as well. I prefer getting into the classroom, so most of the time that's what we do. But I want you to know that that's a standard practice and that we're doing that in a very methodical way. Would like to say to the community and acknowledge that the heat wave is real. It's presented challenges. We have several air conditioning units that have gone down because of the extreme heat. We anticipated this. We had already purchased 3 units, and we are in the process of purchasing 3 more. We are prioritizing those classrooms and facilities that have our youngest kids, and we start to move up. We're trying to make sure that our youngest TKK are accommodated appropriately, and we're taking those measures to make sure that happens. To moms and dads and to our kids, we are working really hard when it comes to sports and our activities. I can tell you that Dr. Macias and Ms. Markison are meeting with principals constantly. I know for sure because I get invited. They've been meeting with them to address day by day what is going to be acceptable to participate in and what we need to either postpone or reschedule. So I just ask that you be patient. We're trying to make sure that our kids are safe. We already have had reports that we have kids that have been dehydrated and experiencing sickness due to the heat. So we're trying to be as careful as we can about that. I do have a message from our Director of Instruction and Technology, Mr. Rick Vonk, and he says, "We are excited to announce that the district's new website is tentatively scheduled to launch on November the 1st. The new site will feature a fresh look and feel designed to enhance the experience of both staff and parents. To ensure a seamless user experience, we are conducting intensive training sessions for our school and department staff. These sessions are scheduled twice a week, virtually via Teams meeting and in-person sessions, allowing staff to attend at their convenience. We also offer small group sessions to allow everyone to learn and become comfortable with the new process. The training will enable us to deliver the best possible service and support to everyone. Staff is actively collecting new pictures and working to ensure the site is updated with current information. As an interim solution, all pictures on the current website will be replaced until the new website becomes available. We greatly appreciate everyone's patience and understanding as we prepare for this new exciting launch. I will tell you, I was part of the committee that included parents, and I'm really excited to see that up and running. I think it's going to look amazing. Hopefully, the community will think so as well. And I will end my report by inviting Dr. Macias to come to the podium. He's going to share a little bit about some of the DEI work and things that we're doing on the site.
Good evening once again. Hate has no home. We have a partnership and a great collaboration with the Human Relations Council. So very happy to share with you that every one of our, all our school sites, I was about to say secondary only, we have banners and posters that are going to be highly visible in every classroom, every school site. The visibility is there, but the work continues. So we are highly sensitive to hate speech. We will address every issue, but I wanted to share this partnership with the HRC. And again, one of the important factors that I want to share with the community, with all our students, all teachers, all their members, all our educational partners, the correct term to use, is that again, you see something, say something, you hear something, say something. Burbank Unified is committed to addressing that. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Macias.
Thank you very much.
We are going to move on to request to address the board. An individual or group representative present this evening may address the Board of Education on any agenda item or on any subject within the jurisdiction of the school board by completing a white request card and turning it in to Ms. Quinterio. Speakers are requested to state their name prior to speaking to the board. Not more than 5 minutes may be allotted to each speaker, except by unanimous consent of the Board of Education. The superintendent may refer the matter to the proper department for review. The district is providing alternatives to in-person attendance for viewing and participation. Seeing that we have no virtual public speakers, we will move to the one card I have, Joel Schlossman.
Good evening, everybody. I have to tip my hat to Mr. Juan Noguera, a wonderful administrator and a wonderful educator and the perfect man for the job at the adult school. Today I sent an email to Mr. Paramo, and I was calling for a town hall meeting where stakeholders can talk about security and safety of our students. And I request that you, if you were to do it, to let the parents, the stakeholders speak without a time limit. Now, at the last meeting, a number of things happened that were very disturbing to me. We had Mr. Crowther stand here, and we had Ms. Markarian stand here. And Ms. Weisberg and Ms. Tabbitt, you took turns berating them for introducing themselves as candidates.
I'm going to warn you again that public comment is not about campaigning for elections. It's about what's within the jurisdiction of the board.
Okay, I want you to reset my time.
No, you can
because
continue,
you've taken
sir.
my time.
Continue, sir.
This is my First Amendment to talk about school business.
So talk about it.
I am. And you chastised two people who were here for the time, manner, and place. It was a First Amendment issue, and it was a Brown Act issue, and you need to learn. And these two administrators here need to speak up because they're smarter than the rest of you. And you refuse to learn about the First Amendment and the Brown Act. This is the absolute proper time to introduce the candidates and talk about school business. Yes, it is. You should be ashamed of yourself, really. You lack this diplomacy. And when a guy like me has to come here and talk about this diplomacy, you know you screwed up. These are people that you're going to be serving with. Can't you think one step ahead? That you should be diplomatic and nice to these people. There's nothing wrong with them. The electorate should know who they're voting for and where they stand. And this is the proper time. You can talk about any school business they want. Now, Miss Ponzer-Kamkar, you talked about wanting to hear solutions at the last meeting. I've sent you a very polite email wanting to meet with you and discuss all kinds of solutions, and you won't do it. So, you know, you're disingenuous when you say you're looking for solutions. You're not. You're a hypocrite. Now, Ms. Weisberg, at the last meeting I was talking about the economy, how people are, you know, having to forego certain things, and I read these articles. Car insurance could jump in 50% in 3 states. California is one of them. Southern California electric bills are soaring. Talked about that. Here's one where adults are turning to lemonade stands as side hustles. And these types of things that I'm talking about, where people are having to make decisions between paying their utility bills and buying medicine, and you're so unsympathetic to people who are suffering, and you did something that I couldn't believe. You were down in the gutter, really. You were making fun of what I was saying and the suffering of the people. Please go back and watch the meeting. You were making light of it. Now, I talked to a fellow yesterday and I asked him what his assessment was, and over the 30 years, this bond is going to cost him $21,000. And I explained to him, no, it's much more than that. It's closer to $100,000. And I worked out the numbers, and it is because the county assessor raises your taxes 2% every year. You know nothing about it. You don't own anything. But the rest of us who are property owners do. Wow. You know, no new tax, vote no on ABC. And if you want to raise, vote no. And the current bond that we're paying will fall off. It will expire. We met our obligation. We were good stewards. We gave you the money and you mismanaged it. You made bad decisions for years. And I stand here and I tell you about it. And it falls on deaf ears that there's consequences to your bad decisions. And the voters of Burbank, the patrons of Burbank who live here, are tired of paying for your mistakes. And don't interrupt me when I'm at the podium. This is school business that I'm talking about. And you owe an apology to Mr.
Your time.
You know. Yeah,
Thank you.
So's yours.
Thank you so much. That concludes public comment. We will now move on to, hold on a second, superintendent responses and then board member comments.
Joel, I always listen very carefully when you come to the podium, and I respect your ability to speak your mind. I understand that it's your First Amendment right. To the extent that I will look directly at you, I'm not taking notes, and I'm just listening very carefully. I feel you deserve that respect, and so that's what I do. What I want to say is that the First Amendment right is not just yours. That First Amendment right is for everybody. And I know you keep looking at me to referee the board, but what I want to say to you is that a lot of your comments are inflammatory. It's not that I even disagree with things that you say, but it's the manner in which you say them. And then you get offended when someone responds to you in kind. I don't understand that. You wouldn't need me to referee if you came up here and expressed your points in a manner that was more respectful. I may not agree with things that you say, but I respect the fact that you believe them. I really do. But I think that that's probably a better path forward. And I really think that if you change the manner in which you came up here, you'd probably get a much different response.
Thank you, Dr. Paramo. Ms. Tabbitt.
I want to be really clear on what I think I said. Everybody has the right to come up and speak about school business. Absolutely. But it's not, in my opinion, appropriate. I've never seen it done in all the elections I've been through, whether I'm running or not. Not one candidate has ever come up here and introduced themselves as a candidate during this time. It's just not appropriate. Yes, they could come up here and talk about any issues they want and end their story and have a seat. But that last tagline for me changed their reason for being here, and to me it just was not okay. I think I'll stop.
Clerk Ponser-Kamkar.
Thank you, Dr. Weisberg. Dr. Paramo, I'm going to have to respectfully disagree that Mr. Schlossman might get a different response if he treated us more respectfully. I think that ship has sailed. I've been on this board for less than 2 years, and I have tried dealing with him in multiple ways. And it is his First Amendment right to come up here and talk for 5 minutes about business related to the school district. But I am under no obligation, no obligation to meet with you outside of these meetings. And I'm under no obligation to spend my limited time on this earth meeting with someone who lies, who spreads misinformation, who is rude, who's threatening, and who's obnoxious. I don't have time for that. So you can come up here and say you keep sending me these really nice emails wanting to meet with me, but you and I both know that one of two things would happen if we met. You would be very nice to me to my face and then still get up here and berate me, or you would be just as obnoxious as you are at the podium. And I don't want either of those outcomes. So I'm done. I'm done with that. I'm still a human being. So is Dr. Weisberg, so is Ms. Tabbitt, so is Dr. Agakani, and so is Dr. Paramo. You reap what you sow. About the bond. I'm not here to advocate on behalf of a measure. I will say that the idea that this is unnecessary money that we're spending infuriates me. Last week, before it was 115 degrees, it was the air conditioning went out in my son's ATB classroom. And so these are kindergartners, not even TK. So these are all 5-year-olds. I went in to pick him up, And there had been a kindergarten class in that classroom all day long. This was 4:30, 5 o'clock when I went to pick them up. They had a portable unit in there. I know they were doing everything they possibly could to cool that unit down. It was 86 degrees in that classroom at the unit. There were 5-year-olds lined up to take turns standing in front of the fan to try to cool off. That's not what our schools are about. You can't learn when it's 86. You can't think when it's that hot. Are like a well-worn pair of jeans that has become more patched than pants. We need to do some good work on our school facilities. We can't keep patching the roofs.
With no money from the state.
Yeah, we don't get money to do this. You don't get money, you don't just save up for an entire new house. You don't pay cash for your house, you get a loan. I didn't pay cash for my house, I got a loan because I couldn't afford to pay cash for my house. I could have saved as much money, I could have scrimped and saved every day of my life before I bought my house, and I still couldn't have paid cash for it. You take out a loan, you use leverage. It cannot be 86 degrees in our classrooms. It cannot be leaky roofs. We can't have ADA accessibility issues. These are basic needs for our students to have a learning environment that is conducive to learning, that is conducive to hundreds of students, or over 100 students getting perfect CASP scores, or moving up a full grade band in academics. That doesn't happen when it's 86 degrees in your classroom, even with an air conditioner on. That's what we've identified. Thank you.
Yeah, it's your turn. Dr. Agakanian.
Thank you, Dr. Weisberg. So I usually don't respond to Mr. Schlossman comments, but I think it's important to know that we had these young ladies here first time as representatives, and to witness what you did to them is irreversible. It is. So if you really want to do good, then be a little kinder and more understanding, and look around and see what's around you. They walked out of here terrified. They walked out of here terrified. Thank you.
I want to point out that you're mocking 3 people who turned to us. I had to go over to them and say, if he scares you, we will get somebody to walk you out. You can clearly you care so little about our students. This is not the first board we've had to say this to, and I'm sure it won't be the last. I want to talk about the money that you waste. Talk about a couple of things. Thing 1, all of the Public Information Act requests you make that take up hours and hours and hours of staff time. You don't care about the money. You care about your 5 minutes of public comment, sir. I want to talk about, this is not a back and forth. I want to talk about your coaching of people running for office to do the same thing. I want to talk about us having to bring the police in for the number of times you've threatened my life. I want to talk about the fact that we're probably going to have to bring the police back so the young ladies that are here to represent their schools aren't afraid. People are allowed to talk about whatever they want within the jurisdiction of the district. Campaigning is not that. We have plenty of public forums coming up. I'm sure you'll be right there coaching your candidates, and that's fine. It is a waste of taxpayer dollars. You don't understand anything about the First Amendment. You don't understand anything about what people in Burbank are actually experiencing. We don't all own multiple apartment buildings, sir. You do. So when you attack and abuse and lie, people in Burbank are not dumb. They know that you're lying about this bond. They know. Because they're smart and they're informed and they ask questions. Maybe there are a couple of people who, like you, want our students to be in classrooms with no working roofs, with leaks, with no AC, with not appropriate supplies, with underpaid teachers who work themselves to the bone and aren't paid anywhere near what they deserve. But none of those people are up here on the dais. So if you want to do what we're doing, then grow a pair and run, Mr. Schlossman. Because we deal with your abuse every single time we have a board meeting. Every hateful, vicious, violent attack. And I'll tell you what it does. It only reaffirms for me the importance of my job and how hard I'm going to fight to make sure our teachers and our classified staff and our admin get paid what they deserve, and that our students are allowed to learn in environments that are safe and sound. I mocked your bringing an article about Burning Man as some sort of tangible evidence of economic hardship. And I'll do it again because it's ridiculous. If you can afford to go to Burning Man, that's cool. I can't. Maybe you can. Maybe you'll scoot on over there. But to quote what Ms. Ponser-Kampkar said, we are human beings. And when you treat human beings like dirt, you are treated like dirt. So you can continue to video me during every meeting, continue to post videos of me on multiple sources and multiple websites, share my private information, call me every name in the book, threaten my life. I would if you didn't do all those. It is absolutely true, Mr. Schlott. I can. And also, this is not a back and forth. But I will tell you that when this bond passes and when we move forward and do what's right for the district and you still come back, I want you to ask yourself, have you ever said anything that benefits the district? Have you ever said anything that benefits a student? Have you ever said anything that benefits a teacher or a classified member or an administrator? You haven't. You come here and you abuse and you hide behind the First Amendment. That's all you do. And most of the time, Dr. Agakanian is right. We don't bother to respond to you. But I want you to reflect on how you ended your public comment, which was to mock the fear of 3 high school students because you have no self-awareness. And I will tell you again, every time you threaten me, I recommit to doing my job to the best of my ability. Every time you threaten me, I recommit to our students and our teachers and our staff. 3 categories of people that you care nothing about. So please, think about it next time you come before us and abuse everybody up here. Moving on to... I'm really excited about this. I'm super excited, and Mr. Everhart, I'm really sorry that this is what you have to follow. Yeah, woo, math collaborative, let's do it. But I am so excited. So we are so lucky to get another update about our phenomenal math collaborative. We know we pulled Mr. Everett away from back to school night. I'm going to introduce Dr. Anders, who, hold on, I'm in the wrong place. No, I am right. I was just reading the wrong thing. Who introduced the fabulous Greg, who is going to share some amazingly awesome updates about the work that they've been doing.
Math rules.
Good evening, Board President Weisberg, members of the board, Superintendent Paramo, BUSD community. I'm Robin Anders, Director of Instructional Technology and Accountability for the district. Happy to bring up Greg Everhart, who's been leading our math collaborative for quite some time. Boots on the ground, doing a lot of great work. I can't say enough about the work he's been doing. He's also just yesterday and today sitting in on getting our English department started on similar work with the collaborative as well. So we're learning lessons that he's coached our math teachers through and help guiding this work with them as well. So he's got a lot to say, and he really deserves a lot of the credit for all the progress that we've made with math at the secondary. So with that, Greg Everhart.
Welcome. Yay, Greg. Sorry again.
Hello, everyone. I got to breathe like deeply. My heart is.
Sorry,
No,
I'm
it's
so
okay.
sorry.
Said everything you needed to say appropriately. I'm going to do a lot of shout outs tonight, but I got to start for sure with my Algebra 2 parents that I'm missing right now at back to school night. So miss you, but see you soon. The year started off really strong with Algebra 2. But that's not why we're here. I also want to give out shout outs because Joey Tanner, who's in 12th grade, was 11th grade CASP, got a perfect score. Yeah, and also a current student I have who's actually an 8th grader right now at Huerta, who I have in my 0 period Algebra 2 class. So Cooper Brody. Awesome kid. Obviously got a perfect score on the CASP. So, he's going places. So look for that name. So it was nice to actually meet a parent, not at back to school night, but here at the board meeting. So there you go. All right, I guess we'll jump into our PowerPoint. I'm here to chat a little bit about where we're at because we had 6 years of help from California Ed Partners. And then this year, we're now kind of on our own. So I want to talk about what we were able to accomplish last year, and then give you kind of a game plan of what we've already done and what our game plan is for this year, and then kind of scaling out so that we can hopefully make the work we're doing a norm in the districts. I guess starting out with our working goal. So our working goal, this is something that I created at the beginning of last school year. So we're 1/3 of the way through this working goal for you math people out there. So in 3 years, all secondary sites will have a PLC structure with meaningful collaboration where stakeholders understand vertical integration based on standards. And we've actually made quite a lot of progress on that. I know that's extremely wordy, almost like you're reading like a math book at this point, right? Like having to decipher a definition inside of a definition inside of a definition. But I'll hopefully try to make that clear as we move forward. And so the plan for last year to scale this work was really a 3-pronged. And the first one was to continue our PDSA cycles of inquiry, PDSA standing for Plan, Do, Study, Act, and our professional learning communities at the high school to decrease the DNF rate in Algebra 1. That was really our ultimate goal starting 6 years ago. And then we have been trying to scale that out to Algebra 2 and Geometry, as well as pre-calculus. So I'll add that to that scaling plan. Step 2 for that was to train and begin PLC collaboration at the middle school levels. We have started at every middle school, which you'll see as I decipher what we've done from the last year. And then, of course, continue to share our results in venues like this so that the community knows what we're doing, as well as gain additional members to come on in and join the work so that everyone's a part of it and not just a few select people who are doing all of the work. We really need everyone on board in order to make this a district norm. So we'll start with the actual time that we got to meet last year. Bullet points are a little bit out of order of what I will say. I'll start with that third bullet point there. High school, we met 1 full day first semester with all high school math teachers, and then 1 full day second semester. This is double the amount of time that we met the year before. So the year before, we only met in November and did not have time second semester to do that. Everyone wanted to meet even more than this, but that's what we were allotted. And that was a really good use of our time, which I'll explain in a moment. And because we, here's another shout out, because we had 3 of our middle school teachers, Laura Gribble and Christina Considine and Amanda Gonzalez, join us at the high school pullout. They were so excited and so passionate, they said, why are we not doing this for middle school? And so really just 2 weeks later, they had the tri-school pullout day on February 27th. And they got the ball rolling there, and we did a really fabulous activity, which I'll mention here in a moment. And then just 6 weeks later, we had a full day where all of the middle school teachers came together, and that was extremely productive. I cannot overstate how hardworking those middle school teachers are. They got so much work done. It would have taken like 3 years for the high school teachers to get the amount of work they did in one day. So really impressive. And then at the sites, we don't have equity quite yet, but we're working on it. So we had 2.5 days for Luther. Some of those were PLC coordinated, some of them were just department meetings, but we'll call those grade levels. So Math 6, Math 7, and Math 8 all met together. 4 of those meetings at Huerta, 2 of them PLC and 2 of them department, and then 6 math grade level meetings at Muir. Those were specific PLC. They are definitely ahead of the game with their PLC at Muir as far as the high schools go. I'm sorry, as the middle schools go. And then at Burroughs, we had planned to do 8 single subject meetings, which that is a 2-hour block of time where we have subs come into our classrooms, and everyone who's teaching geometry at that time gets pulled out, and we have a 2-hour meeting where we work on our PLC objectives. What that means is that throughout the day we have Algebra 2, Algebra 1, and Geometry all meeting. And we wanted to have 8. We had 6 and then ran out of money to pay those subs, which is okay. I mean, it happens, right? That's the nature of the beast, right? So specifically with middle school. So middle school, this is what we did last year. We started with a 3-up, 3-down activity, which was just an open-ended activity that said, like, hey, if you are teaching Math 7, what are the 3 things that you wish you could tell Math 6 teachers about what they need to do to prepare them for your class? And simultaneously, if you could tell the Math 8 teachers, what are the 3 things that we want to send up to you that every student who has taken Math 7 would definitely know? And so that happened at every level, and that was a fascinating start of a conversation. And then it led to, well, we got to talk about pacing. We got to get, like, how can we get these 3-up, 3-downs actually in there? And so they were sort of creating their essential standards or promise standards throughout that conversation without even knowing it. And so that was a really powerful, that was at the Tri-School Day on February 27th. And so then when they met all together, it was incredible, like the next 3 bullets here, they were able to do all of this, which at Burroughs, this took us 2.5 years to do. They did it all in one day with everyone in middle school, which is quite impressive. They created common pacing for Math 6, Math 7, and Math 8, and that is not just Chapter 1. We're all teaching these sections. Chapter 2, these sections. We're talking about focusing on the standards for California and aligning those with where it exists in the textbook, not just following what some random textbook tells us to do, right? And then they came up with promise standards, so whatever they wanted to focus on. And they wanted to do more. They wish they could have met like the next day to continue on and create some formative assessments, but we just didn't have time to do that. But it was incredible the amount of work that they were able to do in that time. And then they really were focused on, or the reason why there was so much success is there was actual equity of voice, which never really existed in a collaborative meeting like that. There are normally 2 or 3 people, as we know, who are a little bit more boisterous, who tend to dominate conversations, and then not everyone really has their say. And so this was great because no matter whether they had 1 or 2 years of experience or 30 years of experience, their voice mattered just as much. And so that's what allowed them to do so much work so quickly. And so we want to continue that and talk about what we will do. So obviously we'll continue where they left off and create some common formative assessments on the promise standards that they created. And then we are definitely going to have them actually give those formative assessments and collect data. So collect that in a timely manner, make sure everyone agrees on when they're going to collect it and where they're going to collect it, so that when they meet again, they can have a meaningful discussion by looking at that data and just talking about what they notice, what do they see. And then from there, the magic happens. This is like the S part in the PDSA cycle, the study part. But like, why did your students do so much better on this topic and mine didn't do so great? So in there, embedded organically comes in the best practice discussions that happen at that point. And so from there, we want to continue to discuss pacing, modify, potentially calibrate that for if our students didn't do so hot on this standard, like maybe we need to spend some more time either introducing it in a new way or maybe reteaching that at another time where it comes relevant. And then the one thing they really wanted to do, we have our accelerated pathways, right? So our accelerated pathways are 6-3, our 6-2, and our 7-2. They all wanted to do their pacing at the same time. But it's like, slow down, right? Slow down, one thing at a time. We need to make sure that we have created a final based on those classes so they know kind of where that end zone is for them. And then bring it back together so that they can actually all meet together. Not just 6-3 teachers, but all 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade teachers should have a say in what goes into that 6-3 pacing, that 7-2 pacing, that 6-2 pacing. And so that's a huge thing that we're going to tackle this semester with our middle schools. In fact, they wanted to do the pre-service days. We just didn't have time. We had too many other things to do. So that's a huge thing that we're going to handle. And then that 3 up, 3 down activity, we don't want to just throw that away, right? We want to revisit it. And so we want to see how that aligns to the promise standards they created. Because before we did the promise standards, there was the 3 up, 3 down. Were those the actual promise standards? Were they not? Were those 3 skills or standards that they passed up, were they actual Math 7 standards of California? Like, we didn't look at that. So that's something we want to revisit to make sure that we're aligning. And then, of course, the open conversation of discussing common grading practices and where we're at with that. And then adding just one more thing to that slide, we want to try to get maybe 4th grade or 5th grade teachers who are currently working on their instructional learning teams under Jen Almer, who really started our work way back in the day, see if we could invite some of them to that middle school meeting, because it would be super insightful to hear the middle schools hear from the elementary school teachers who are doing incredible, amazing work, and vice versa, to have those 4th and 5th grade teachers hear what the middle school teachers are working on. That is hopefully going to happen. If not this year, definitely within the next couple years. Okay. Transitioning to high school. So what we did in high school, we also did the 3 up, 3 down activity. Why would we not do it? It was so successful at the middle school. We definitely, another shout out to Stephanie Enochian, who helped me facilitate these full day meetings, bringing in the engagement Kagan strategies. That was really helpful. There was some what we would call old school, high school direct instruction teachers who were excited to remember what Kagan strategies were, actually used them, and then reached out to us and said, this was the most effective my students have ever done on this. Their scores went up. So that was extremely helpful and really nice to hear that feedback that what we're doing is helping. Of course, continuing the grading discussions and calibrating that, that has been consistently happening over the last 3 years, and it's just a really complicated conversation. So, we're working on it. We're going to get there. And then in the spring, our Algebra 1, our Geometry, and Algebra 2 teachers had a good chunk of time, about 90 minutes, to create something that they all were going to buy in and have ownership on that was new, that they had never done before. So in Algebra 1, they decided to create a performance task on statistics, which often gets skipped. It's one of those things that's like, well, if they take statistics, they'll get that. But as we know, statistics is a huge part of real life, and that shouldn't be something that's skipped. That, in fact, should be something that's embedded, hopefully, in almost every unit. And so they decided to create that and did actually do that with their students during second semester. The Geometry decided to go the technology route and using CAD software created a surface area project where they had to find out how much paint needed to be covered a house, and it was really fascinating. So much work got done in such a little amount of time, and I'm not sure if every geometry teacher actually did that because it was such an undertaking, but the process of creating that together is where that growth really happened. And so I'm fascinated to see, once we all meet together, how many actually did it and what their takeaways were and whether they do it again or whether they needed to be modified to try something different. But that's all part of that PLC process and the PDSA cycles of inquiry. And then we have been really trying to get teacher leaders who are doing amazing work to show us what they're doing. And so we had Robert Hamill come in and do a couple of lessons on Mathematic, which is really a supplement, an online supplement for a textbook, which has them discover first and then formalize it later. And so that's something that he came and showed a couple of lessons that he did. And of course, our data science, which is, again, we're in our second year on that, they showed us a lesson on skin tone. And so like random samples from internet sources or social media or magazines, and finding skin tones and then creating a data set to see where that matches. And like there was so much technology that we all had to download simultaneously, and we're like, oh, this is probably really challenging in a classroom setting. But we all learned so much. And so I'm gonna force/ask nicely that they continue to give us data science lessons, because they're the only two, Jessica Gayon and Joel Brinton are the only two who have been trained in our district on teaching data science. And so we need to learn from them. We do. And so what will we do? So here we go. This is it. So we're gonna continue to align our common formative assessments with the high schools. You see that there was a school who was left off from what they did last year, which was Burbank High. They've had a very challenging time trying to get pullout based on, rotating administration who, gets onboarded and then is no longer there, right? Or, that just happens over and over again. So there's a frustration that exists there. They're really passionate. They're amazing teachers. And so we really want to make sure that we're aligning what we're doing at Burroughs with what they're doing. And so we've actually created Google Classrooms where we're asynchronously collaborating. And that has gone really well the first 2 weeks, and then it's kind of been radio silent since. So we're trying to continue to promote that, but people are busy, right? It's a busy time, and it's a new dynamic for most teachers. So we're going to try to keep that going. We're definitely going to continue talking about grading practices as we did before. Also revisit the 3 up, 3 down, and then of course showcasing those instructional best practices. And here are the dates we're going to do. And so I'd love to formally invite anyone here who would love to come on one of these days. We have 2 middle school days, one first semester, one second, and 2 all high school days, first semester and second semester. You can come for 15 minutes or an hour or stay the whole time. If you want to know when the data science lesson is going on, I'll let you know that too. But we had Dr. Macias show up for about an hour last year. Of course, Dr. Andrews comes as often as he possibly can. He's a busy guy. I don't know if you know this or not, but yeah. Yeah. So that's happening. And then each school site. So, that little piece on the right there, they're going to work with their admin as closely as they can to try to get their pullout time for their PLC work. And at each site, that's a little bit of a different dynamic about how to ask, how much time they want, what that looks like. We've already been doing that within the last 3 weeks. Even next week, I'll be at Luther for the first time, working with them on their PLC work and rubric grading work. And so there's all of these options for them. They just got to find the time and the money to make sure that that happens. And then I just added that last part there. So our single subject teams, this at the high school, that means an Algebra 1 team, a Geometry team, an Algebra 2 team, and for the first time, a pre-calculus team, which has a shared Google Classroom, and they're talking to each other, which is great. But that single subject time also means grade level time. So the middle schools have one gigantic middle school math Google Classroom that they use quite often, and the work that's on there is quite incredible. When we've been working with Cal Ed partners, the Algebra 1, which we called the Algebra Project originally, that is what most other districts who saw the work that we were doing, they were most passionate about wanting to know what's on our Algebra 1 Google Classroom. Because it's incredible the amount of collaboration that has been done there and how much they're constantly changing and updating and modifying. Just that second week of school in Algebra 2, I was thinking, I wish I had a list of definitions from Algebra 1 that I could remind my students of. And an hour later, Robert Hamill posted on the Algebra 1 exactly what I was thinking I needed in my head. And so it was insane. I printed it out. I gave it to my students the next day. We talked about it. And so the work is happening. It's sort of organically coming together. There's still an incredible passion. And I think that Dr. Andrews is going to show us some of the data that shows that it's working as well. So I'll throw it to Robin. There you go.
Thanks, Greg. I have to say, he does so many things so well, a coach, a colleague, a teacher, mentor, and he does it with humility and compassion every step of the way. So that's why people are gravitating towards this work. Also want to point out, we're in a spot now where we feel like we have guaranteed curriculum across our district, and that's really hard to do. We have, especially in algebra, it doesn't matter what classroom, what school, what teacher, you're getting the exact same experience. And that's where you start to see gains in performance, when teachers can trust each other and trust that the kids come with the prerequisite skills to be successful in the class that you're teaching. So that's where we hope to see gains going forward. The gains that I'm about to show right now are the gains that we've seen just from the momentum, the enthusiasm, the way we've changed our approach to teaching. Algebra is the most recognized class with the gains. We've been monitoring specifically DNF rates with Hispanic Latino students as a subgroup that we felt like if we could address the issues that are the pass rate with them, that's going to work for all students, and this is what all students look like. So we actually shifted, completely reversed our distribution in algebra when we started this work to where it is today. So we had more students failing than getting A's, B's, and C's. And so now you can see we have a very healthy grade distribution in algebra, and you can see that D rate started at like 26. Almost 27% is or F rate was at 26, 27%, and it's all the way down to 8.2%.
I just want to say, I get so proud when I see this, because this is absolutely phenomenal, and I take no credit. This is all based on the hard work of these teachers that have put their heart and soul into this, and it has created a culture that'll be around forever. And that's what's so important about this work. And as he goes through the data, you'll see that trend throughout.
So I'm very happy to see these numbers, but also, correct me if I'm wrong, also the college standards have changed, right, when it comes to algebra. You know, they used to be much lenient, but it is changing now, right? Okay, just for clarification, I'm happy because this will make it easier.
Say that again. What's your question?
My question was, the college algebra requirements now have gone up. There used to be they were much more lenient in the past, but now it's becoming more difficult.
Yeah, more and more students are having to take like a pre-course before they take their actual first college math course.
Which I'm very happy I see these numbers.
Not our students, yeah.
Good, okay. So just wanted to put it out there, that it is changing, and I'm happy that the scores have gone up.
Yeah.
Sorry.
My
voice is very low today. I'm sorry.
No worries, no worries.
It's always low, actually.
Geometry, you're seeing similar trends. There's a blip in there during distance learning, there was a semester where we didn't give full grade distribution. It was more of a pass-fail in the spring of 2020. Algebra 2, you can see all of our classes really at the high school. You've seen our A's, B's moving up, our C's staying pretty consistent, and not as dramatic as algebra, but we're seeing movement in the right direction. I want to say though, these percentages are getting much healthier, but this still accounts for the majority of our D's and F's in high school and middle school. And so when we're talking about our A through G rate, this is still the biggest area we need to continue to make an impact for our kids to finish A through G.
Yeah, I think going back to the algebra one, and actually it'll be good when we talk about math 6, 7, 8. But the drop in F's is really, like, obviously pops out on this. But you notice that, like, the C and above rate stays pretty consistent, right? That it's about 80%. How are you thinking about that, right? When we think about, in the context of A through G, right? That if you want to be A through G eligible, you need to be at a C or above. Well, we've obviously taken down the number of F's, but some of that has been made up.
Yeah, we're focusing a lot on D's and having conversations about what that looks like. a lot of the work now is in implementing rigor for our students to make sure that they're prepared. It's also trying to increase their performance on our assessments as well as state assessments to make sure that it's not just passing their current class, but being able to pass their next. And that's really why we're going down into the middle school, is we're finding that students have some foundational gaps that we need to make sure that we're addressing so that they can finish with a C or above through their whole high school career. Because especially algebra is really the nexus to algebra 2, but then I hope I'm getting this right, like 7th grade, there's a lot of introduction of things too that are going to play out in those high school courses. So we're looking now, going to move forward to middle school. You can see the D and F rate has stayed pretty low, but we're seeing more students doing better on our grading systems. Same with 7th. 7th was a kind of a course that we identified that we wanted to target and look at, but we wanted to make sure that we did it progressively by going down from algebra to 8th grade to really build that transition from 8th to 9th for kids to be successful in 9th grade, and then continue down to 7th. And so here's the last slide was with our 8th grade distributions. I picked the bubble or the water theme, not knowing that it was going to be 110 degrees tonight, but it works. But really, it's supposed to be symbolic of the PLC work. So the heart of this work is PLC structures and committing to being able to sustain those. It's helped us address issues that we didn't foresee coming, and it's going to help us address the issues that land on our plates going forward. We're going to turn around and have to look at an adoption of a textbook in another year or two. We're going to lean heavily into these PLCs to help us make an informed decision and really rely on our expertise of the standards, not just what the sales, the sales pitch are from the vendors and the textbooks they're putting out. So I think we're in a really great place to do that work and be very informed. I hope too the next steps is we see an increase in our A through G rate. This is the start with our DNF rates, and also again increase the rigor to see increased performance on our state and local assessments. Yeah.
Yes. Hi. No, I think that's all super helpful. And thank you for. Oh, hi, John.
Okay.
Dr. Promo, excuse me.
Hello.
Yeah, I think the point you bring up about the textbook one is an interesting one, in that like you can be looking at those textbooks and I make up that the vendors are going to come and say like, this is how they're aligned to SBAC or how they're aligned to other or even how they're aligned to iReady. But if you can say like, well, how can we actually use these to inform the assessments that we've come up with locally, I think will be really interesting. And just to say like, last spring, I went and visited a number of the middle schools to see kind of that PLC work in action. It was really cool to like even just talk to kids about, okay, you got a math test back that was rubric graded. Like, how do you think about this differently? And kids are still kids, so they're like, I know a 4 is good, I know a 3 is okay, but they're getting like what they're seeing how those standards actually work together, which was really cool to see in like a 7th grader, right? So thank you for all the amazing work that this represents.
Dr. Agapani?
So this is just a wish list, but I don't know or something that we're looking at, especially looking at maybe the adult school so is there a possibility of one day looking at things like 3PL, Sigma 6 certification, and operate, because it's really in demand right now. And I've seen high schools, depending on private schools, they kind of offer it early on where students going to college already either ready. It's about operation. Sigma 6 is very popular now with all warehouses and Amazons. And I'm just curious. Probability, my favorite subject. So.
That is definitely a conversation we can have, and I'm sure Juan's not going to run away from wanting to promote something with the adult school and trying to get that. And it's funny that you're talking about that because I just had a conversation with my sister about Sigma, and she had to educate me on that.
What belt is she?
She told me, I don't remember.
It's like
I teach middle school, so I thought this was like a Sigma skibbity toilet situation.
no, it's a
It's
an operation certificate. It's not cheap, but
Yeah.
there are a lot of programs out there that are substituted for students, because if you put your black belt or master black belt in Sigma 6, Amazon will hire you in like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
But it's probability
Sure.
statistics operation.
Sure.
Operation. I think it's a hot subject right now, and everyone's trying to learn it or get 3PL certified, which is warehousing.
Great.
So you know what I'm talking about. Thank you.
I just wanted to take a minute and make a few closing comments. I started the school year by identifying 3 instructional goals that our district would work on. And one of them was focused on middle school math, and I'd like to explain. When you look at the data, you can clearly see that we are trending in the right direction with our math. So some might argue, why is this still a goal? So I want to explain that, and I want to explain my thoughts about that. Yes, we are trending in the right direction, but our work is not done. What you can hear from the presentation is that we're doing 2 things. We're trending up in grade level. So it started off with Algebra 1, but moved into Geometry, Algebra 2, and now Pre-Calculus, I'm hearing, where they're having open discussions and creating this PLC. It's also moving down. So we got the 8th grade, 7th grade, 6th grade, and now we're hearing that they're trying to get 4th and 5th grade teachers involved. This is all really important. It's important because, as Dr. Anders said, one of the biggest challenges specific to Burbank is that our kids who are not meeting A through G are often not meeting A through G specifically because of math. So if we can focus our attention on the early years, elementary, middle school, when we get to high school, where classes actually count for credit and count for A through G, we will start to see that trend going up. We have made progress in A through G. We're still not where we need to be, but we're projecting in the right way, and we need to just continue that work. And what we will start to see is that A through G rate continuing to go up, because that's where our biggest challenges are. And I wanted to make sure that I said that and to explain why that is still a goal.
Thank you. I so appreciate the enthusiasm. I don't mean that. I mean that like, it's just so great. You can see why the students are thriving and your colleagues are thriving. And I cannot wait to hear about the English Collaborative. So hopefully everyone come back and tell everybody about it. But this is really like groundbreaking stuff. And I'm also hopeful that, with everyone's free time and all of our unlimited budget, that this is something that we'll be able to share with other districts, because this is really innovation at its finest, and it's done in such an authentic way. It's not just performative. This is about teachers sitting down together and figuring out a better way to do things, and that's the stuff, like you said, that lasts. So I know how much work goes into just the regular job, and then adding all of this on top of it is enormous. So one of the things that I would ask too is just moving forward, obviously with limitations, but you shouldn't feel limited. We know we have limitations, but if there are things that you wish you had that could continue to support and expand this work, tell us, because we just might not know, right? And so we can be creative about the ways that we support. So whatever it might be, if you could, you should not be limited by, our budget, or you should just tell us ways that we can support, and then let us figure it out. Just because this is really,
Totally agree.
This is changing so much in such a positive way, and I just want it to continue to grow and for everybody involved to feel supported by us. Ms. Ponser-Kamkar.
Also, now you're host, because I've put these dates on my calendar.
Oh, I'm going to show up too, BTW. Is it at the district office, or is it a school site? Do you say you're host?
Hosed.
Minnesota.
It's not lost on me that you're eating nerds up there. Is that what that is?
Middle school students have destroyed. I love my job, but this is my life now. Would you like some nerd gummy clusters?
Ask, but then that's really awkward.
This meeting is brought to you by nerds and.
It is. Hey.
Running my
forget the
sugar
question
level.
now because we're talking about it. Oh, the location.
Yeah.
So I believe that we used to do it in the bungalows that were adjacent to the adult school and Luther.
Yeah.
But I don't believe those are available anymore. I think we're actually doing it adjacent to Burroughs High School now. Which
Oh, that's a
I
big
know
commute
well.
for you.
So closer, ish. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's finalized officially yet, but that's, I believe, the place where we're going to.
We can bug Dr. Anders about it.
Yeah.
I can just, hop over the fence.
There you
No
go.
worries.
Perfect.
Thank you for accommodating Ms. Poncer Camcar's schedule.
So
We do what we
I
can.
have another question.
Go ahead.
Sorry. So I love the numbers going up, and so overall, just what would you say is the biggest challenge right now?
The biggest challenge that I see is getting my amazing Burbank High School colleagues to be able to do the work that they want to do and just don't have the support. So, getting administration buy-in to know that this is really essential, that we can bring them along. We can't grow without them. So, we need them. And so that's the biggest challenge that I see as a overarching. Other than that, it's just the time. We couldn't do anything. Even in our English, we learned a brand new structure on the last 2 days, and ultimately, I was like, we can use this next time we meet to instantly create rubrics using something that was brought up in an English CalEd Partners collaborative. So the more we learn, the better we can talk together. The better we learn, then obviously our students benefit because the better we are, the better they are. So that's it. It's just keep the ball rolling. That's it. The thing is, I don't even know what we can accomplish yet.
Right.
There's no goals. It's all happened organically. Obviously the data speaks for itself, but
Clearly.
yeah, who knows? Who knows what we can do?
Well, thank you for the level of energy, enthusiasm. I think you deserve some nerds. Would you like some nerds?
Sure, I'll take some.
Would you like some
Yeah,
Nerd Gummy Clusters brought to you by Nerd Gummy Clusters?
Thank you for listening.
Target, please.
I feel like we got to take a moment to highlight it's a good problem to have when teachers are asking to be pulled out of their classrooms
Right?
to collaborate with each other. So we'll make it happen. We'll find a way.
But you know what? I might have missed some comments. I apologize. But the innovation behind what you're doing when you said, oh, we really wanted 8 days, but we ran out of money. Oh, that's okay. We'll do it this way. We'll have an online portal. We'll have a Google Drive. And we're going to continue this, energy that we got going to make these good things happen in the classroom. And man, teachers are awesome at that. And I really, really appreciate it. I wish we had boatloads of money just to say, here, make whatever you can happen, but we don't. And that's not slowing you down. So thanks. I appreciate that.
Okay. Anybody watching, just how lucky are we to have the teachers that we have? It's ridiculous. We're so lucky. Okay. We are going to move on to new and or unfinished business. Dr. Bramo, clarification. We're moving 13G to before 13C or A?
A.
Excellent. So we thank you to everybody who's hanging out for 13B so soon. I think you're here for 13B, PTA. You guys are rock stars very shortly. So we're going to move 13G up. So we're doing 13G, approval of unaudited actuals for the 2023-2024 fiscal year. May I have a motion and a second? Moved by Dr. Agakanian, seconded by Ms. Tabbitt. Any conversation? I believe that there will be. Oh, wait, yes, correct. No, I was just looking at a different agenda item. So no, we're good. But see, now you guys get to hear about unaudited actuals, and you waited. You really were excited about this.
President Weisberg, board members, Dr. Paramo, colleagues, and community. This is one of 4 times in the year where we come before you at a board meeting to present our financials. The process begins in June with a budget adoption for fiscal year running from July 1 through June 30. We have our first revision that comes to you in December, a second budgetary revision that comes to you in March, and then we close the books and we bring to you our unaudited actuals right now in September. So every 3 months, you receive a budget update in some form. We say unaudited because our auditors have not yet completed the annual audit they do of our books, and so they bring their report to you in December or January. Before I do actually get into the presentation tonight, I do want to take the opportunity, since, again, this is one of the few times a year we actually directly deal with our financials, to remind those in the audience and those watching at home just a few basic financial facts that Burbank is operating under. First is California funds education by the local control funding formula. That assures every district a certain base grant, a base funding amount for each child based on their grade level. And then there are additional funds if a child fits into a certain demographic criteria, those being low income, experiencing homelessness, in the foster system, or an English language learner. If they meet any of those 4 criteria, then we receive additional supplemental or concentration funding. There's about 1,000 school districts in the state of California. We are in the bottom 15% for our funding on a per student basis because of our demographic factors. So again, of the 1,000, it's about 980 school districts. We fit into the bottom 15%. If you actually look at larger districts, because the majority of those that are in that category that are at our unduplicated count or lower are oftentimes single schoolhouse districts where the superintendent is also the principal. And so if you're actually looking at a closer apples to apples comparison, there are 17 school districts that have an unduplicated count lower than ours that are at least 10,000 students. Okay. Of those, over half of them have passed parcel taxes, and I've not yet gotten to the conclusion of this analysis, so it's possible it's more than half. But just so that both, again, those here tonight and those watching at home, when they talk about the financial challenges we have as a district, certainly there are some that are locally driven in our district. 4 years ago, we adopted our first fiscal stabilization plan, and we were able to delay some of the really challenging decisions that need to be made because of one-time funding that we received. But we also have some really large macro factors because of the state funding model that are not unique to Burbank, but really, again, driven in Sacramento by the way that they choose to fund education. With that, it was a year ago, I came to you in September, and we talked about our unaudited actuals, and we gave a little bit of a look ahead. And at that time, we were anticipating a COLA for this year of 3.94%. The COLA that we received was 1.07%. So I just want to put that into actual numbers for everyone. With a change of the legislature's pen from what the Department of Finance and the Legislative Analyst Office has told us of a 3.94% COLA, when that dropped, that actually pulled $4.9 million from our budget for this current year. And that money, when it gets pulled, never returns. We lost that over the next school year, 25-26, and the 26-27 year. So in total, about $16 million that came out of our budget that we'd been planning on when the COLA dropped from the 3.94 down to the 1.07. And so, again, even though the headline in Sacramento in June was that education was largely spared relative to other government entities, we certainly did still have a pretty dramatic change that affects the way that we are approaching our budget this year. I know you've been trying to say something. I kept talking. Sorry.
Is it about stirs and purrs?
I just want to clarify for our listeners, because what I thought I heard you say, but I know not to be, is when you were talking about the local control funding formula, and there's a base grant,
right,
and then there are 4 opportunities for funding for students that fit a certain requirement. Burbank does not receive any of those additional grant monies because...
Great clarification, so thank you. Let me make sure that I speak clearly to the issue. There's 2 separate categories of funding. One is called supplemental grants. If you have a single kiddo in your district who meets one of those 4 criteria, then the district receives a 20% add-on for that child. So as a rough rule of thumb right now, we can say that the base grants are about $11,000 per child. So that would mean that one additional child would generate an extra $2,200 to help meet the needs that child uniquely brings. If you have over a certain percentage of your students who meet that criteria, then you jump into the concentration grants. We aren't anywhere near it, so I haven't looked at change when I actually was out of state. I believe it's still at the 55% threshold. What changed was how much the grant gives you. It used to be 50%. It's now bumped up to, I believe, 60%. So that means for any district, like some of our neighbors, again, LA Unified actually gets 60% more funding overall per pupil than we do. Glendale, it changes. Yeah. Yeah, Glendale, it changes each year depending on our demographics and theirs, but it's roughly between 15 and 20% more they get per child than we receive because of that. So a district that has 70% unduplicated count, not only do they get all of that supplemental funding that we get, but they then bump into that new category of concentration. So we do get some of the funding, the supplemental, we just don't get that concentration. And that's where the key numbers really drive up quickly. So again, forgive me for going on a little bit of a tangent, but we only get to talk about the budget really every 3 months, and so I want to make sure to remind the community that the budget that we're facing and the reasons that we're having a fiscal stabilization plan, certainly, again, we've identified the needs over many years of where we need to go, but they also change pretty quickly from Sacramento when they change things like COLAs.
I think what you're speaking to, we hear from certain people, like, live within your means. Well, if you have no means, you got to figure it out. And we've talked about this before. I think other things are important. And I would pause for a quick second. I think it would be really helpful if, at some point, who knows when, we maybe partnered with PTA or somebody to do some sort of community education about our budget. We know that people can come to LCAP, but often they can't or don't want to, and who can blame them? I like it, but I think, oh, cool. But I think it would be great because people don't understand the stuff that you're explaining. It is complicated, right? Like, we know that funding is complicated, but being able to have conversations about attendance versus enrollment, or the fact that, all of these things that deeply impact our budget that we also have no control over. Right. And the things that you were talking now about concentration camp grants versus unduplicated and supplemental. So all of these things, they're hard to understand even if you've been doing it for a long time. Right. So I think it could be a really positive opportunity for us to a couple of times just to partner so that anybody who's interested can come. We make sure that you do a really good job of making it accessible. I just feel like the more we educate our community, the more people are going to understand how, I'm biased, but how well we're doing with so little, and how more community support is just going to be, for us, it's going to make or break the district. So I think this is a great opportunity for us to talk about how we can share the information that you're sharing tonight with a larger community, because I just think it's vital. And we could blame everyone 6 ways to Sunday, and they are to blame. State. We are not. But I do think that it makes everybody informed and more engaged and more active and empowered when they understand the intricacies of it.
Yeah, and it is so complicated. And again, we just look to our county. LA County has 88 school districts. And again, we have among the 3, or it might be number 4, we're either 3 or 4 lowest paid on per pupil basis. Yeah. So again, even when we're talking to neighbors nearby, the way that they are funded and the amount that they receive and what they can do with that is just really at a different level than the funding we receive. Yet you can see the results that we just heard about is that doesn't stop us from having incredible things happen in our classrooms. So you mentioned that even for those who've been doing it for a little while, this is still complicated. This is actually, I'm in my 10th school year since becoming an assistant superintendent in my prior district, so I have been doing this for a few years. This actually, though, was the year in which I've been least involved in this close process. I was away from the district for some time this summer on an extended medical leave, and so really a tremendous amount of work fell directly to Dr. Abdel Hamid, our fiscal director, and her team. As a reminder, Dr. Abdel Hamid has only been in our district since January, and the average tenure of an employee within her department is about 3 months. And so it really is an incredible testimony that they were able to do such incredible work with again, so little support that I was able to offer this time around. In fact, typically, if you look at the last few years, we actually have just had almost a standing, specially called board meeting in the second week in September, because this has to come to you by September 15th. And we have failed to meet that deadline both the prior years I was here and in the few years immediately preceding as well. And so the fact that we not only did an incredible job completing this task, but actually for the first time in many years did it on time for the first week in September is, again, an incredible testimony to our entire fiscal team. So because of the hard work they put in, I am going to actually ask Dr. Abdelhamid to go ahead and give the presentation for tonight.
Good evening, everyone, board members, BUSD colleagues, community members. I'm going to go over our year-end financials for the 23-24 fiscal year. I do want to start by saying our presentation is fairly short today, but it truly doesn't reflect how big of a lift it takes for our team to finish year-end. You may or may not have the 130-page full year-end file in front of you, but again, these few slides are just a high-level summary. So my team is pretty familiar now. I'm always going to ask them, how can we do this better? And so we did implement a new, let me skip to this slide. My team this year, I said, how can we do this better? So we did use a new procedure this year to close out our year end. I think it went really well, and we documented some templates so it can be just easier in the future to close each resource. But I did want to just publicly thank my team for their work. So again, this slide is going to be the key slide for today, and it's going to cover both unrestricted and restricted for our general fund. And let me scroll. So the two key takeaways I want you to garner from this slide is that our team did a really great job in estimating actuals. So if you compare the first column, which is our estimated actuals, to the second column, which is our unaudited actuals, you can see that for expenditures, we were within 0.5% compared to our estimated. So I looked at these numbers for last year, and we were about 5% last year. So I think that just shows that our team is able to project at a much kind of more accurate level. For revenue, our estimations were within 2% of unaudited. Compared to last year, that was about 9%. So again, this just shows that we're constantly improving our projections, and I'm just appreciative of our team for that. Another key takeaway is that our bottom line, our fund balance, really hasn't changed too much, which unfortunately means that at an aggregate level, we're still going to have to follow through with the cuts that Andy had just mentioned in terms of our fiscal solvency and stabilization plan. So we're going to look at revenues right now. So we estimated our revenues were going to come in at $217 million. Again, this is just general fund, but they came in at about $221 million. And the reason for this kind of $4 million differential can be attributed to a few key factors, one of which being special ed transportation, which was about $500,000, both on the revenue side and the expenditure side. So more revenue came in, but obviously more expense came with that. We had about $1.5 million in additional revenue in gifts. Gifts are generally harder to project. They can be very fluctuative, but it is an area that I've asked our team to dig a little deeper on to see trends from prior years. But it is just generally a harder revenue source to forecast. We had about $1.2 million in additional Medi-Cal reimbursement, and so that comes from increases in special ed and mental health expenditures. They have to be eligible, and those rules for eligibility have changed over the last couple of years. So that just means that more things are eligible, we're spending more, we get reimbursed more. And so I think this just means our team has to be a little more proactive with estimating our Medi-Cal reimbursement. From the expenditure side, so again, our revenue went up for sped transportation, and so our expenses also went up about $500,000. And again, we were within $1 million of our estimated. So that accounts for about half of it. And then on the other side, because we had so much more in gift revenue, those gifts are usually tied to very specific asks. And so because of the increase in gift revenue, our expenditures on the gift side also increased. So I did want to flag there is a transcription error, but it doesn't affect our actual year-end file. It's actually in our estimated actuals. So in the transfers out, it indicates 860,000. That was me pulling our indirect transfers instead of our transfers out to other funds. So that's just a typo, but it really doesn't affect our year-end. So I only noticed it today when I said, usually that line is specifically for ATB and our transfer to them, but we were estimating it about 330,000, and we came in at about 160,000, which was definitely better for the district. And then next year we have it slated at 65,000, and that's specifically for Horace Mann. But in the out years, we're hoping that ATV will be fully self-sustaining. So that will zero out in the out years. And again, this doesn't impact year end because that was just an estimated actuals, and that was just a PowerPoint kind of transcription error. So in terms of our beginning and ending fund balances, you can see at an aggregate, we had 71.6 million as a beginning balance, and then our ending fund balance based on our unaudited actuals is 70.3 million. Again, we had a net loss of about 1.3 million just because we are spending typically more than we're receiving. And so you can see how that breaks down in the unrestricted and restricted sides at the bottom of the slide there. And so the key difference between estimated actuals and unaudited and the unrestricted and restricted breakout, nothing's different in terms of net, but the difference there is that there was a SPED contribution that we hadn't done by the time we were doing estimated actuals. And so that's the reason why the estimated versus unaudited for those two breakouts are vastly different. And so then in terms of our adopted budget, you can see we're operating with an $18 million net loss for this year. That's in column 4 there under net gain or loss. So again, this assumes that all of our vacancies are fully filled, all budget plans are fully executed, and just realistically, I know that we have vacancies that we haven't filled for the last 2 months. So we will just have better numbers first interim, once we have an understanding of how many of those vacancies will likely be filled. So that $18 million number will hopefully come down. I don't think it's realistic that it will be a gain, but it should come down from 18 million at least. And then for the 2 out years, you can see the expenditures are truly just based on our assumed cuts. So the fiscal stabilization plan, our revenues for the out years are really based on our LCFF calculator and the dartboard data, including the COLA. So then you can see our, in aggregate, kind of that, the third row from the bottom, the bolded line, the 70.3 million right now. So that's really our ending fund balance. You can see that if you look across to the out years, this dwindles down to 38 million, again, under all these assumptions, by 2027. Again, we're still in the black, right? We're not in the red, but at the same time, you can see how quickly it can dwindle if cuts aren't made. So again, this is not to point it out in a negative light. I just want it to be very realistic with the depiction here. And hopefully, again, the net loss that we're showing kind of year over year will come down if, we don't fill all the vacancies. But from one perspective, we do want to fill all our vacancies. So that's just a very conservative estimate. Let me go to the next slide.
Before we move on, can I ask you a couple questions on this one?
Yes.
Because the next one's, I lost my paste. Okay. Yeah. All right. The negative 18 million for this year's adopted budget, did that include the August 15th cuts? So is that number going to be bigger because we couldn't make those August 15th changes?
So John and I talked about this a little bit, but because we have so many vacancies, I don't think in net it will because we have so many vacancies, but I do think that those cuts absolutely still have to be made, unfortunately.
Right.
But it's not, I don't think it will make it worse, but
Okay.
I'll see if Andy has additional.
And we're getting first interim at the next meeting or 2 meetings from now?
December.
Or sorry, not first interim. Don't we get a September one? Or no, this is the September one.
It's just, it's weird because we're doing it at the right time.
Because we're doing it at the right time.
Not to overpromise, but our team is working on a projection file, and that's actually what we used for estimated actuals. And so that file will be up to date every day. And so realistically, anytime there's an interim, we're just pulling that file. And so if at any point someone wanted to know we should be able to pull it for you.
Andy's like telling you, like, don't tell her that.
I don't want to overpromise.
No,
but-
I won't. I know. That's very exciting. Well, no, and I heard you say, like, we documented templates during the close process, and like that's huge. Like, I was very excited. Can you just tell me? I had kind of one other clarifying question, which was the estimated actuals column. So, like, did you last do projections? Like, do you kind of do projections all the way through the year? So, like, you met with. Or you're like looking at budgets all the way through like June, and then you're saying like this is what we think it's going to be, and then you close the books. That's kind of the process here.
Yeah, the estimated actuals are derived when we do our adopted budget, though, and so you're doing them at the same time. And truthfully, I mean, on the revenue side, I think we didn't do as good of a job. I think we focused on the expenditure side, and that's why that $4 million difference is there. But it's usually derived in the May timeframe. So we try and do our best estimate as to what July will look like, but if people make, $1 million expenditure in June, I mean, that we didn't know, it's gonna hit the books.
Not a criticism. I was just
no,
curious. No, this is great. Thank you.
Should I skip? Okay. Okay, so, does anyone have questions on the previous slide, or should I move forward? Okay, sure. Okay, perfect. So, let me go. Okay. Here we go. So this is actually just a view of our unrestricted side of our ending fund balance and the components within it. So you can see that under the, again, given assumptions and the forecast of our ending fund balance, it can quickly deplete just over a matter of 3 years. And so again, we're meeting our financial obligations. We're in the black, we're not in the red. But again, the assumptions here are that we still have our revolving cash, we still have a committed portion of our fund balance. We still have our kind of a committed assigned LCAP supplemental, our vacation liability, our 3% reserve, both on the board side and the economic uncertainty side. So even after factoring all of those things, you can see our unassigned fund balance depletes from 13 million to 5 million. Again, assuming all of those things stay constant.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
So, I don't know that we know the answer to this yet, but I'm still curious as to some of the pieces of legislation that have been passed that are coming down the pipe, including the paid maternity leave, which is going to be a huge cost, very important and well-deserved, but I don't think something that we had even thought about until it passed. So I'm wondering, that's obviously going to have like a negative fiscal impact, positive human impact, but like what, I think there are a couple of bills I haven't, and I have to talk to Sarah more about AB 2088 and that fiscal impact. So there's 3 or 4 bills that I know have either passed or are about to that are really going to impact us financially. And so it doesn't have to be tonight, but at some point I think it'd be helpful to have a conversation about what that's, to the best of our ability, what that's going to do.
Sure.
Besides just suck.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You're spot on. Just want to, again, really emphasize the key headline, and Dr. Abdelhamid will continue, but the key headline is that, again, our budgeting processes are being really reformed or revolutionized, significantly improved, and that from a budgetary takeaway, the good news is that the budgeting practices were effective because we had such a small change. The bad news is that means, again, that we're still largely in the same position that we believed we were in June. We can certainly answer questions or the breakdown of this chart, but I would just say that there's so many things that we haven't updated for the current budget, and this is based off of our budget from June. And so, again, I'm just thinking of one small example is that we did just receive our health insurance rate increases, and we'd been budgeting 7%, it was 10%, and so that's something that when we talk about those out years is another immediate change. And so a lot of things change from the time that we adopt a budget in June, and so to talk too much about the effect on ending fund balance moving forward is just going to be premature because it will change so much in December.
Got it.
2 questions. So, so I think it is important that have maybe an informational sessions with the PTA and Because also what I've noticed also is the minute there's an open vacant lot in Burbank, people build these homes that are averaging at 2.5 million. So we're going to upper middle class category, which in a sense also in terms of us getting Title I money and I do want to acknowledge all of you. We get compliments all the time from surrounding districts, but how we do it and offer all these extra programs like wellness centers and after school, which is not required, by the way. A lot of districts don't offer it. And yet we penny pinch it. So thank you, my hat's off to you. But I think it is concerning also to me the way trend of Burbank is going because people think we get money every time they build something and we don't. And I think people need to know that as well. And I think it's important for people to understand how the budget works and how the governor can take money away. But on a positive note now, I know there's a lot of talk on the bond sponsored by Assemblymember Al Marusucci about, $10 billion bond which is for schools, some of it's for asphalt replacement, green space. Is that going to affect our budget in any way or shape? If it passes, we're not getting the whole 10 billion, of course. But, yeah.
So the state bond, we are not eligible to receive any of it without having a local match. Part of the work that Perkins Eastman did was to look at when our eligibility kicks in for which sites, because there are certain requirements for the age of your buildings and the last time you access state aid. And so we know that we have about just under $40 million of state aid that we will be eligible for in the next few years. However, again, unless we have local dollars that we can match that with, local facility dollars, then we can't access the state aid. So the state aid can't go toward our operational, can't go toward general fund. It only is for facilities, and it's only if we have some form of a local match.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Local match, you say?
Is there a guarantee, or we apply for it and it all depends on?
If the money's there, it's a guarantee. So if the state doesn't have the money, then it doesn't matter how many people are in line, they're not going to get it. But the sooner that we can have shovel-ready projects, the quicker we get into the queue, and then they start giving out the money as they have it. So we have a legal right statutorily based on the provisions for state aid. We just have to have projects which they can fund because they don't hold it for us. They give it out on a kind of first in, first out.
So from the Perkins Eastman report, should when our bond passes, are there things that we could have, as you say, shovel ready to go and start on ASAP, or not?
So they're not going to exhaust the funds in the first 18 months. I mean, there will be time. There will certainly be time before if the state bond passes and there's $10 billion coming up to Sacramento, there's going to be time for us to have our projects ready. Basic timeline, if a bond were to pass in November, we would likely sell the first issuance in April or May, so we won't even have the money immediately. It takes 5 or 6 months to go through the legal hurdles, update our rating with the bond agencies or with the rating agencies, et cetera. And so our money would come local, maybe sometime in May. Our projects during that period from a November election until the proceeds were received would be getting projects ready. But these projects, again, they aren't ones that we have ready right now, and they're not ones that can get ready in 30 days. But if we have a 6-month runway, that can give us a lot of opportunity for progress.
Good lead way. Okay, thank you.
Okay, awesome. So this is actually just a slide related to the ending fund balances for our other funds. And so you can see just at a high level, adult ed, child development, our food service, or our cafeteria fund. For the most part, their ending fund balances are all relatively healthy. I would say the only one that somewhat looks like it's depleting is child development, but I think we're cognizant of that, and I think that team in and of itself is working through that. But beyond that, I think everything else is somewhat just, I don't want to say standard, but for these funds, this is relatively standard. But I'm not going to read the numbers verbatim, but if anyone has specific questions about a fund, I'm happy to take it.
Dr. Paramo.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
At our last board meeting, we had a comment from the public about wanting to know more about our fiscal landscape, what's the vision, and actually asking for some hope in terms of where we are with the budget. So I just want to say a couple of words about that. It was hard or difficult to project any of those things when we hadn't completed the unaudited actuals. So we were waiting for the opportunity to see what this was going to look like so that we can speak about it more intelligently, or we would have done it sooner. Both presenters, who did an amazing job tonight, said several times that we have to implement the fiscal stabilization plan. So I want to make sure that we're emphasizing that to the public right now. When we submitted our budget in June, which was approved, we also submitted a fiscal stabilization plan. That is no surprise. We talked about that at board meetings for months about what was going to be included in the fiscal stabilization plan. We would have actually executed those reductions in the summer if the governor hadn't changed his mind. So what I want to make sure that I'm saying to the public, because you're asking, what does the fiscal landscape look like? What should we expect this year? At this exact moment in time, what I am saying publicly is we are committed to implementing that fiscal stabilization plan that was approved by the county. So what is that? What does that include? That includes 5 PE teachers at the elementary. That includes the reduction of our Director of Human Resources. That includes the reduction of 5 counselors. And we already implemented the reduction of 5 assistant principals, so that part is done. Those are the things we talked about. Those are the things we made public. Those are the things we were committed to for the summer. All this did was push this down the road to March, but we have to implement the fiscal stabilization plan. At the moment, that's what we're talking about. I don't know what's going to happen in January when the governor releases the budget for the next school year. We'll have to adjust and pivot and talk about that publicly when that happens. But at the moment, that's where we are. And we need to move forward and implement the stabilization plan.
Ms. Sponsor Kamkar.
Can you remind me, so the different Fund 21, 25, 40, the building fund, capital facilities, and the reserve for capital outlay, what are those generally used for? Like, none of those are bond funds, right? Tell me more, please.
Yeah, so Fund 21 is the bond fund.
Okay.
Fund 25, or I'm sorry, vice versa. Fund 21 is developer fees, which is for when there is construction, if it's residential over 500 square foot addition to a home or a new residence, then we do receive a funding on a per square foot basis. It can only be used for areas of growth within the district, and so if we have a expanding TK program somewhere, then we would be able to use it for that, but we wouldn't be able to use it necessarily to repair a roof on an existing building. 25 is the bond fund. 40 is a fund that we are using for like the Burbank High Pool, Burbank tracks. It is not being added to. It was built up over a number of years when we used to actually have to make some general fund contributions. And so expect that fund to largely be depleted in the next couple of years. It's been slated for a variety of projects.
Even though it had more revenue than expenses last year?
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions from my colleagues? Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
We have to, is this something that we were voting on? We didn't vote. No, we made the motion and the second, and then we had discussion, but we need to vote. For 13G. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Seeing no opposition, motion carries 4-0. We are going to move back to 13A, adoption of Resolution 1, proclaiming the September 15th through October 15th as the Burbank Unified School District's Hispanic Heritage Month as presented. Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Agakanian, seconded by Ms. Ponser Kamkar. Dr. Macias, come on down. Not if you, I can, if you don't.
I don't have this resolution.
Good evening once again. I am here proudly representing our Burbank Unified School District Library Coordinators. And on top of that, since we are celebrating National Hispanic Heritage Month, it is part of my background I'm very proud of. So I want to especially thank one person in particular who helped organize tonight's presentation, even with the script, Miss Alicia Feldman-Boot from Burbank High School. Thank you very much. So with that, could we have our presentation up, please? Okay. So the Burbank Unified School District Library Coordinators, thank you for the opportunity to offer some choices of books that highlight the works of authors and illustrators from the Latinx and Hispanic community, whose stories and characters have a profound impact on our society. In the words of Jorge Luis Borges, let others pride themselves about how many pages they have written. I'd rather boast about the ones I've read. They have recommended for our elementary grade span level, Alma and How She Got Her Name by Juana Martinez Neal. Alma is a small person with a large name. Learning where each part of her name came from provides an avenue into the family history and cultural heritage that help make her who she is. In addition, the recommendation is for Separate is Never Equal by Duncan Tonatiu. This book tells a true story of how the Mendez family took their fight for justice and equality all the way to the Supreme Court in a case that ended school segregation in California 7 full years before the landmark Brown versus Board of Education. Next, for our middle schoolers, Si Se Puede by Julia Anta. From community activism to the halls of government, pop culture, arts, and beyond, Latinos have shaped every aspect of American life. This book highlights many of these unsung Latino heroes. Si Se Puede, named after the Yes We Can motto of the United Farm Workers, brings Latino history into the United States to the forefront. Another book, middle and high school, grade span appropriate, Solito, a memoir by Javier Zamora. This memoir chronicles the harrowing journey of a 9-year-old from El Salvador to the United States to reunite with his parents. The book intertwines themes of heartbreak, resilience, love, and kindness as Zamora navigates the dangers of his 3,000-mile odyssey. Through his vivid storytelling, Zamora offers a poignant and unforgettable account of the struggles faced by countless immigrants seeking a better life. And for our high school, I Am Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter by Erica Sanchez. Our high school libraries received this book from the Burbank Teachers Association, and it has been a favorite ever since. Part mystery, part love story, part inner quest. In I Am Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter, the teen protagonist struggles to prove who she is not, and in that journey discovers who she is. Stronger, braver, more worthy of loving and living than she ever imagined. Erica Sanchez carries the reader through an amazing exploration of family, grief, and culture, reminding us that we are all flawed, and in those flaws that make us priceless. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Macias. And thanks again to our amazing library coordinators. This is something that we decided to do a year or two ago, knowing full well that we are asking our library coordinators to do more work, which I don't love, but their expertise and recommendations are invaluable. So it's thank you to them. Thank you to Ms. Feldman-Boot for these. These are great recommendations. We are going to, do we vote and then read the resolution? Yes. So thank you for that, Dr. Macias. We're going to go ahead and vote in relationship to the resolution proclaiming September 15th through October 15th as BUSD's Hispanic Heritage Month. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Seeing no opposition, motion carries 4-0. Dr. Agakanian asked if I would read it. Yes? Okay. Whereas the state of California is home to over 3 million Hispanic students from kindergarten through grade 12, and whereas the diversity of this group includes persons who have their origin in Mexico, Central and South America, Europe, Africa, and the Spanish-speaking Caribbean islands, and whereas since the inception of European contact with our continent, Hispanics have always been an integral part of the nation's early exploration and California's discovery and early settlement. And whereas while the impact of the Hispanic culture and traditions are manifested in our state's customs, traditions, and laws, and whereas Hispanic Americans continue to make important contributions to our society in American government, business, agriculture, commerce, armed forces, education, the arts, science, and sports. And whereas the history, social science framework for California public schools, kindergarten through 12, states that the history curriculum of community, state, religion, nation, and the world must reflect the experiences of men and women and different racial, religious, and ethnic groups and must be integrated at every level. Now be it resolved that the Burbank Unified School District Board of Education proclaims the month of September as Hispanic Heritage Month and encourages all schools in the Burbank Unified School District to commemorate this occasion with appropriate instructional activities. Excellent. Wahoo indeed. Okay. You're up. So soon, you might be wondering. We are going to move on to 13B, adoption of Resolution 2, proclaiming the month of September 2024 as PTA Membership Month as presented. Can I get a motion in a second?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Tabbitt,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Ponser Kamkar. Welcome, patient ladies.
Thank you. Oh, our pleasure. Good evening, President Weisberg, board members, Dr. Paramo, BUSD staff, and fellow attendees. This is Shauna Millman, and this is Dipali Patel, and they are our Burbank Council PTA treasurer and historian, and my name is Catherine Moser. I am Burbank Council PTA second VP of membership. We are here on behalf of our BC PTA president, Charlene Walters, and our fellow executive board members to talk about PTA membership and advocacy. When I was a kid, both of my parents worked full-time and volunteered in my hometown. My dad volunteered for the homeless shelter at our church, and my mom volunteered for my school's PTA. I went to meetings with her, and I remember that there was a lot of talking, a little laughing, but mostly I remember the snacks. I am delighted to say that there's still lots of snacking going on at PTA events and meetings. But of course, PTA's most important work, its mission, is to positively impact the lives of all children and families. For over 120 years, PTA has worked toward bettering the lives of all children in education, health, and safety. Some of the programs and parts of legislation PTA is responsible for include creation of kindergarten classes, child labor laws, family engagement legislation, arts and education, and work to prevent bullying. How has PTA accomplished all of this and so much more? Through membership. The larger our membership, the larger the impact when we advocate for our kids. Last year, BUSD had 5,736 PTA members, and our volunteers donated 78,893 hours of their time for a financial value of over $3 million. That's a lot of money, right? Yeah. We could help with that former presentation. When we go to Sacramento to talk to our legislators about issues such as the need for more funding for public schools, safety measures, curriculum concerns, etc., those numbers matter. There is power in PTA membership. Ever since registration in the summer, our school site PTAs have been working hard to build their membership, mostly because it's the right thing to do, and also because they can be very competitive when it comes to outdoing each other. Remember that you can join PTA at any time. In fact, we would like to extend this invitation for you to become a Burbank Council PTA community member, also known as Champion for Children, and join all 16 BUSD PTAs for $144. It's a bargain. So far, we have 9 community members, and our goal for this year, 11 community members. I'm getting my update right now. And our goal for this year is to reach at least 22 community members. So come on and help me out.
How do we check if it's time to renew?
By October 31st, it's time to renew.
Perfect.
July 1st membership rolls over. So you're a member till October 31st for last year, but July 1st is when the new membership year starts every year.
Where do we get?
Burbank Council PTA website. It's right on the front.
Shauna,
Join
speak
now.
into the mic. I'm gonna.
On the Burbank Council website, on the front page, there's a Join Now button that takes you to PayPal to pay for the fee. Burbank Council PTA, yeah, .org.
Can they send us an email with a link to click?
I've joined 2 PTAs so far this year, Burbank and Huerta.
Don't join again.
Don't join again. But what if I want to be a community member?
So it actually will have to donate, if you donate your other two to somebody, or don't donate because you can't give a membership vote to somebody else.
You
but
could-
You can change the name on that
Yes,
membership.
you could donate to a staff member, but whoever you donate it to has to agree to that donation.
Because it's a voting right.
Right. So, yes, so we hope that you will be part of our powerful association that advocates on behalf of children. And yes, Sean already gave the website, so thank you so much for your time. And I just want to add that I really appreciate your demeanor and patience with that former situation.
Thank you for.
That's a kind way of referring to him as a former situation.
Maybe he'll put it on his card next time.
Yeah.
Good evening. As Catherine introduced me already, I'm Dipali Patel, and I am here on behalf of Christina Ballos, our Burbank Council PTA VP of Legislation and Advocacy. PTA, as we all know, is the nation's oldest and largest child advocacy organization. Its legislative mission is to speak on behalf of all children and youth at the local, state, and national level. As a nonpartisan association, PTA does not comment on or endorse candidates for office. However, the association does carefully consider and take positions on initiatives that impact the education, health, and well-being of our children and families. For legislative bills that have an impact on children and youth and fall within the framework of the PTA legislative platform, priorities, and PTA positions, local PTAs may conduct studies and adopt positions on such legislation. When the Burbank Unified School District Board of Education adopted Resolution 35 to place Measure ABC on the November 5th, 2024 ballot for consideration by Burbank voters, Burbank Council PTA appointed a committee to study the language and provisions of the measure and its impact on Burbank USD students. At the September 3rd, 2024 Burbank Council PTA meeting, the bond study was presented to the association, finding that Measure ABC fell within the PTA legislative platform and priorities, greatly impacting all Burbank USD children. The bond study committee recommended the support of Measure ABC. The association not only voted to support Measure ABC, but also voted to actively seek the passage of this measure.
Yes. Well done.
Go ahead.
Well, you can make the 11 to 12 now, so. I do want to 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. It is very easy, actually. I think we hit the 20, right?
I didn't know when I had to do it, but I did.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I wanted to say a big thank you to PTA in general and Burbank Council PTA. I've had the pleasure of joining the meetings the last couple months, and it's just been really, it's been really good to see that group work and work together really well and ask really good questions. Yeah, quite frankly, about Measure ABC and really think about it, right, and talk about it. So thank you for that and for everything that you guys do on behalf of our schools and our students.
So it's good to see some of you. I just saw you at the Mirror PTA meeting last week or 2 weeks ago. It was really hot and I was drinking warm coffee. I don't know why, but
I did that. But when I got
But I do want to thank all of you for all you do. I think it's important to really to listen to the parents, but also all the upcoming events. I think it's also good if you update us during our meetings about your upcoming events. I know we have book fairs coming up, and different PTAs have different events. So maybe we can get updates from upcoming events in different PTAs, and maybe we can read them or have a representative to let people know. Because I know each site is doing a different event, but at the same time, at least you can come here and put some positive, some positive upcoming events for people. And, I know that we have thousands of viewers that watch this show every night.
Fives and fives of people. And also, if you don't want to sit here for 3 hours, you could always email us and we would happily read out any updates that you have. You're always welcome. I know you can't think of a better way to spend your Thursday night. You might have missed the situation, but yeah, just a huge thank you. I also really was impressed with how thorough the process was for approving, that you had the study session and that you really, it's a process, which I think makes earning the endorsement even more powerful, because we know that it wasn't just an easy decision, that you really invested time and energy. So just to echo Clerk Ponser Kamkar, you guys help make the district what it is. We would not function without you, and we're endlessly grateful for your support. Anybody? Thank you. Should we read the Roso? Oh, yeah. All those in favor of proclaiming the month of September 2024 as PTA Membership Month, please say aye. Aye. Seeing no opposition, it resoundingly passes 4-0. Yeah.
Okay.
Huzzah!
Hooray! Whereas Burbank Council PTA, consisting of 16 unit PTA associations, has a long tradition of seeking the highest possible education advantages for all children and youth so they can realize their full potential. And whereas Burbank Council PTA assists parents in developing the skills they need to raise and protect their children, encourages parent and public involvement in public schools in our community, and speaks on behalf of children and schools in the community, in organizations, and before public governing bodies. And whereas during the month of September, special activities will be held to promote parent involvement, expand the membership of the Burbank Council PTA, and broaden the PTA's base of support so it becomes a stronger and more effective voice for children and education. And whereas it is the role of the Burbank Council PTA to encourage parent involvement by promoting an educational environment in which parents are valued as primary influences in their children's lives and essential partners in their children's education and development. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Burbank Unified School District certifies the month of September 2024 as PTA Membership Month in Burbank, California, and encourages our citizens to expand their involvement in issues affecting the education, health, and safety of our children. Thank you.
Beautifully read. We'll move on to 13C. Adoption of Resolution 3, adopting the GAN limit for fiscal years 2023, 2024, and 2024, 2025 as presented. May I have a motion and a second? Moved by Dr. Agakanian, seconded by Ms. Ponser Kamkar. Any conversation? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Seeing no opposition, motion carries 4-0. 13D, amendment of 2024-2025 instructional calendar as presented. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Moved by Dr. Agakanian. Second. Seconded by Ms. Ponser Kamkar. Before we vote.
Nothing. I'm laughing because I've not voted to support this calendar in the past, but since we're already past the first day of school, I can do that.
Yeah,
guys,
too late.
There's not going to be a fight tonight. I just wanted to quickly clarify the change. I don't know who we're. So the only change was the second open house for elementary, correct?
Yes. Yeah, historically, there's always been two open house dates available, and the elementary schools vote on which one they would prefer. And on the first calendar that you approved back a while back, in that one, they only had one open house, so we just met and added the second open house to be consistent.
I just wanted to make sure I was not missing any other change.
No.
Okay.
That's it.
And the elementary schools do one or the other.
Correct. They make a vote and they choose which one. Most of them do, I think, the later date, so that's why it was important to make the amendment.
Okay, thank you.
Great. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Moving on to 13E, ratification of agreement for professional services, Next Day Delivery Service, Inc., as presented. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Moved by Dr. Agakanian, seconded by Ms. Ponser-Kamkar. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. 13F, approval of agreement for professional services, human resources, as presented. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Moved by Dr. Agakanian, seconded by Ms. Ponser-Kamkar. Any conversation? I just couldn't, my eyes stopped focusing.
Okay.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Moving to 13H, ratification of employment contract for the interim assistant superintendent of instructional services as presented. Yes, as presented. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Ms. Ponser-Kamkar, seconded by Dr. Agakanian. Briefly, I want to ask Dr. Paramo. So first, I want to say one thing, which is Dr. Macias has taken on an enormous amount of work on top of the enormous amount of work he was already doing. And he's done it with grace, with intelligence, with innovation, with responsiveness, with kindness, with gratitude, and with love for the district. He is the partner that everybody wants. And we are so blessed and lucky and happy and a better district every day because of him being here. That being said, I'm just kidding. In addition, I asked Dr. Paramo to just explain for our friendly situations, the fiscal impact approving this contract, just so people are clear.
Sure. So as a reminder to the audience, we were able to hire back Dr. Macias at the beginning of the year in January. True blessing as far as I'm concerned, and we hired him to be the director of secondary ed. What you also know is that we have our assistant superintendent of instruction, Dr. Linda Young, that is out on medical leave and is likely to be out on medical leave for several more months. So on the natural, Oscar has been doing the extra work since January because we needed the assistance because Dr. Young is out. And so it was during the summertime that we recognized that since Dr. Young's leave was going to extend further into the fall, that we really needed to do the right thing. And that was to have Oscar step in as the interim superintendent. The contract language is very clear that if Dr. Young returns, then Oscar will go back to being director of secondary ed. The differential in pay from where he was as director to assistant sup does not even come close to the extra work that he is doing. And we're saving a lot of money by doing it this way. We'll also share with you that depending on how long Dr. Young is out, this in terms of using her sick time, that will be adjusted as well in terms of compensation and what we're paying. And so those are also factors that help to mitigate this cost.
Thank you. And obviously worth every single penny. We're so lucky. So, but just wanted to clarify for our friends at home. Any other conversation? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Seeing no opposition, motion carries 4-0. Huzzah again. We are going to move on to 13I, approval of memorandum of understanding between Burbank Unified School District and the Burbank Teachers Association for a lead school nurse position, as presented. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Moved by Dr. Agakanian, seconded by Ms. Tabbitt. I know, pick it up. Any discussion?
As part of my meeting with Dr. Paramo, I confirmed that this does have no fiscal impact. Basically, it changes it from an 11th month contract to a 12-month contract, because before it was an 11-month contract, and they were just paying the lead nurse additional time for
Right.
that 12th month. So,
And if you know our fabulous lead nurse, Lenora, she does so much, and this change has been necessary and a long time coming.
What, if I can clarify just the payment, you can see in the cover memo that she was working in the summer, and so receiving hourly supplemental for that. Then there's stipends things were written into the contract, and basically what this does is puts it all together, and that's why there's no fiscal impact, because it puts all these stipends together and makes it clean. Also moving forward, when we don't have our current lead nurse, if in the future we want to have a lead nurse, that we have a salary schedule now and a table set up, so it's stirs creditable, and it sort of helps us make sure that we're staying within our boundaries and making sure we're doing things correctly for employees.
Thank you. That's really important. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Seeing no opposition, motion carries 4-0. 13J, acceptance of gifts. Heck yeah, it is.
Okay. I haven't done this in a while. I move that the Board of Education, take formal action. Sorry, I clicked on the report and my whole words went away. Take formal action accepting the following gifts to the district, and that our esteemed Board President, Dr. Weisberg herself,
That's me.
Convey gratitude and appreciation to our very generous donors.
Thank you so much. A huge thank you to Shub Photo South LLC for their donation of materials and supplies for Bret Hart Elementary. Thank you to Force for Giving for their generous donation to be used towards materials and supplies at Bret Hart. Thank you to Burbank High Baseball Booster Club, Inc. for their generous donation to be used towards coaching stipends at Burbank High.
And thank you for doing that correctly, Burbank High.
Thank you to Burbank High Baseball Booster Club, Inc. for their donation to be used towards coaching stipends at Burbank High. Thank you to Burbank High Baseball Booster Club, Inc. for their donation to be used for coaching stipends at Burbank High. Wait, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank you to Disney Worldwide Services for their generous donation to be used towards library materials and supplies at Disney Elementary. Big thank you to Jefferson Elementary PTA for their donation to be used towards clay class consultant at Jefferson Elementary. Very cool. Thank you to Miller PTA for their donation to be used towards kindness mural painting consultant at Miller Elementary. Thank you to Tom E. Leonard for his donation of a tenor saxophone to be used at John Burroughs High School. That's awesome. Thank you to Gain Federal Credit Union for their generous donation to be used at the principal's discretion at Monterey. Thank you to Muir Middle School PTSA for their donation to be used towards Muir United at Muir Middle School. Thank you to Station Film Inc. for their generous donation to be used towards materials and supplies at Muir. Thank you to Roosevelt Elementary PTA for their donation to be used towards Family Engagement Night at Roosevelt. Thank you to Follett Content Solutions LLC for their donation to be used at the principal's discretion at Washington Elementary. Thank you to the Blackbot Giving Fund for their donation to be used at the principal's discretion at Washington Elementary. And lastly, thank you to Charities Aid Foundation of America for their donation to be used at the principal's discretion at Washington Elementary. Thank you to everybody. Everything that you contribute is important, no matter how big or small the denomination. Okay, we're going to move to 14, consent agenda. Does anybody wish to pull anything from consent? Okay, so I need a motion and a second to approve items 14A through 14X as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Tabbitt,
Second.
seconded by Dr. Agakanian. Any conversation? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Seeing no opposition, motion carries 4-0. I am going to, I might flip it just a little bit. I'm going to read retirements before we do board comments. To do what? Do you know who that is? No, I do not. Okay, this is a big one. A huge thank you to Julie Grenay, library coordinator from Burroughs, who began her service in the district in January of 1998. I think anybody who interacted with her knows what a gift she was to Burroughs and to the district as a whole. She will be greatly missed, but I hope she enjoys her time and her travel and her relaxation, and that she always has a home here in BUSD whenever she wants to come visit. Dr. Agakanian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do also want to acknowledge the retirement of Janet McKenna, who happens to be a neighbor down the street from me. 30 years in education, 22 years in Disney. She just retired in June. Congratulations, and thank you for your services. Also to Terry Dowd, 38 years in Burbank Unified School District. Both of them were first grade teachers at Disney. Congratulations. Enjoy your retirement. Thank you.
Board reports. Ms. Tabbitt, anything?
Start of school year is always great. It's my
Yes.
favorite season of the year. I love fall sports. So good luck to all of our athletes. I know this heat is unbearable, but I wish you all well. Stay safe and win lots of games. Thank you to our PTAs who did so much work to get the school year started off, from working registration days, passing out books, feeding our staff, beginning of the year breakfast, etc. Those are the things as a teacher I remember really appreciating, just someone taking a moment to make you feel a little extra special. So thank you to those folks who donate and put their time in to make those things happen. And thank you to all those parents who spend all summer in their booster groups trying to raise money to keep those kids' activities, from athletics to choirs to, I think I saw a notice that mock trial is starting up soon. All of those things require funding that obviously the district does not have. These parent groups work diligently to make sure their kids can participate in these programs. Thank you to them as well. So with that being said, let's have a great school year.
Thank you. Ms. Ponser-Kamkar. Hit it.
Thanks. I was looking through my calendar to be like, what did I do over the last 3 weeks? And most of it was things that I can't necessarily talk about from the dais. I know, but still school business related. But there are a number of us that went to the plumbers and pipe fitters educational facility, and it was the coolest. And they let me flush all the toilets in the toilet room, which I really appreciated. But just, we were talking about CTE earlier with Dr. Noguera, and thinking about how do we incorporate our labor partners and just what they're doing in, where were we, Norwalk? No, Amonte. What they're doing at that facility in Amonte was just, it was really cool to see. And it's a beautiful facility, and they're training people for really well-paying jobs that we're always going to need plumbers and pipe fitters, turns out. The other visit that I did was to Hart. I spent some time with the principal there, with Ms. Walters. We looked at a number of classrooms there, and I helped sort lunch waste, which was fun, with the first graders, which don't tell my child, because she's always like, when are you going to come and sort lunch at my school? But it was, what I saw at Hart was just, it was the second week of school, and it was really good to hear how much the teachers there are working together, kind of like what we heard about from the PLCs earlier today. I made that connection. And just, one of the classrooms that we did visit was Carolyn Bardo's old classroom. And there's still a kindergarten class in there, and I can tell that her memory is really being honored in that way, and just had a really good visit with Ms. Walters. So thank you to our Hart community for, advocating for yourselves and for her memory, and for her kiddos to, be able to process. So thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Agakanian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I did attend both Muir PTA meeting and Burbank High School PTA meeting. And those of you who never been to the PTA meetings, very well attended, a lot of food, a lot of exciting news about the programs they're offering and parents coming back. I also did have a meeting with His Eminence, the Archbishop of the Western Diocese for the Armenian Church, Homnan Derderian. We talked about the schools and, just being a beginning of the school, I thought it would be a good opportunity to meet with him. He's been a wonderful supporter of our district and continues to do so. So thank you, His Holiness, for allowing me to meet you. I did also go to the opening of the Boy Scouts of America New Center in Glendale. It was a ribbon cutting. Yes, we have a Boy Scout store now in Glendale. So our son is a Boy Scout, so any of you want to go buy supplies, you don't want to buy it online, you can go to that store now. I think it used to be where Larry's music store was, right? On Glendale Avenue, if I'm not mistaken. I also went to the Armenian Center at CPON for their summer program. It's a great program. If you've never been there, it was really to also support our scouts and their athletic programs. And last and not least, sorry, I'm losing my voice. I went to the Burbank Community Driver Safety Campaign launch at the Community Chevrolet. Shout out to the Burbank Armenian Association for bringing this forward. A lot of my colleagues were there, a lot of us were there, and shout out to all the partners, including the Burbank Community Chevrolet. And that is my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you. A couple of things. So I also want to echo thanks to Burbank Armenian Association, the police department, fire department, Chief Albanese, Councilmember Mullins, Vice Mayor Perez, and Community Chevrolet for their Drive Right, Save Lives campaign. Really powerful to be there and appreciate their partnership with us. I wanted to congratulate Councilmember Mullins. We just found out she received the 2024 Woman of Achievement Award from Business and Professional Women Valley Sunset District. So that's huge. Congratulations to her. Thanks to everybody at Huerta for letting me hang out with Dr. Macias at Back to School Night. And thanks to Ms. Poncer-Campar for reminding me we also got to hang out at the elementary school Back to School Night. I hung out at Miller, and I assume you were at Disney. I also want to thank Burbank Human Relations Council for their partnership of Hate Has No Home here. Those of you who are eagle-eyed probably saw that we were all wearing orange bracelets. So a shout out to Dr. Macias for providing us with these bracelets to commemorate blood cancer awareness. Also a thank you to Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local 761 for facilitating that fantastic tour. And I will try to be quick with this, but I did want to briefly just talk about the school shooting because, many people know the reason that I don't stand for the pledge is because after Uvalde, it stopped feeling like our government was standing up for teachers and students and staff. And because I love my country, I sometimes need to be critical of her. And yesterday, or whenever, was this yesterday or the day before, is just another reminder of the lack of support for those of us who work in education. Since 1999, since Columbine, there have been 416 school shootings, which have resulted in 382,000 students experiencing in some way, shape, or form gun violence. Georgia, where the most recent shooting happened, does not have universal background checks for gun purchases. They don't have safe storage laws, and they don't have red flag laws. In 2022, Governor Kemp signed a law that allowed most Georgian residents to carry a firearm without a concealed carry permit. The 14-year-old child who committed these murders did so with an AR-15 style rifle. Today, his father was arrested and also charged with murder for allowing his son access. people will immediately default to this is a mental health issue. And while I do think that we have a mental health crisis in our country, easy access to guns is the problem. So there's cries from people in the community to talk about what we're doing in regards to safety. And I love that Ms. Ponser-Kamkar brought up that we can have a conversation with Chief Albanese. We're so lucky to have a police department that has our backs and has a 2-minute response time. But the young man who walked into the school walked past armed student resource officers with his loaded AR-15 style rifle. And it's not because the police were inept, it's because you're able to do that in a place that does not have safe storage laws and that does not have red flag laws and does not take care of its citizens, but instead chooses to take care of the gun lobby. If people want to get involved, I want to encourage you to text Moms Demand Action at 644-33 and to also talk to your legislators and make sure that they are pushing for safe storage laws and that we are doing everything we can to keep weapons out of the hands of our children. Mental health is an issue. It is a crisis in this country, but there are plenty of people who struggle with mental health who don't pick up a weapon because it is not easily available to them. This is the second time in recent memory I've had to have a conversation with my 7th and 8th grade students who asked me if they thought that I thought they could survive a jump out of their 2nd story window if there was a shooter. I've been in education for a very long time, and there's no amount of training or preparation that prepares you to try to find an answer to that question. Enough is enough. Teachers and students and staff should not have to fear for their lives when they go to school. And in another day or two, we will have a similar conversation about another school where more teachers and students lose their lives. So I'm begging our community to stand up for our teachers and our students and our staff and to push for meaningful change. One more life is too many lives lost. So we're going to adjourn tonight in memory of those 4 people who lost their lives in Appalachia. Coach and teacher Richard Aspinwall, math teacher Christina Arime, 14-year-old Mason Shimmerhorn, and 14-year-old Christian Angulo. May their memory be a call to action. We adjourn tonight at 9:35.